Welcome to college football on ESPN, presented by Cars.com. It's not just homecoming at Oklahoma State, it's also a beautiful day in Stillwater as OSU plays host to number 22 West Virginia. Good afternoon, everybody. Mike Patrick, Ed Cunningham. It's great to have you with us. Quint Kessenich will join us shortly. Both of these teams are 5-2 overall, 3-1 in the Big 12, but they're headed in opposite directions. West Virginia's coming off a big upset over number 4 Baylor last week, one of their best wins in a long time, and they can boast with one of the top quarterbacks and wide receivers in the country.
And what a difference a year makes. For Dana Holgorsen, the head coach, was on probably the hottest seat in America coming to this year, but Clint Trickett is having a great senior year, and have they ever found a star in Kevin White. But when you go back to that Baylor game last week, yes, we are getting used to seeing Trickett hit White, one of the best pass-catch combos in the country. But this is a team that has run the ball 50 or more times this year, 4 times. That is not like Dana Holgorsen, and has found a little bit of swagger on defense. Last week against Baylor, they played way more aggressive. They played more press coverage. Although they're not great in the secondary, they're very athletic up front. Expect to see more of that pressure today against Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State was clobbered last week by TCU. When you are as young and inexperienced as the Cowboys are, the growing pains can be really tough.
And Mike Gundy knew coming into this year, they lost 33 out of their top 44 players from last year's team. They had a couple of recruiting classes they missed on, so they knew it was going to be all freshmen and sophomore. The hard part for them is they're sitting right on the bubble of bowl eligibility. This game, and maybe 1 or 2 down the stretch on a very tough schedule, could be the one that gets them over the hump. And when you have a young team, those extra practices, they go into next year to help you out.
All right, homecoming weekend at Oklahoma State. They try to roll right along. West Virginia trying to keep it going. Oklahoma State trying to turn it around. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. It's homecoming at Oklahoma State. Quint Kessenich will work the sidelines for us today. We'll check in with him right now. Quint.
Mike, this game represents a monumental challenge for Oklahoma State's secondary. So Units has really struggled this season. They rank 116th in pass defense. They have one corner, Kevin Peterson, who's a very good player. And in an ideal world, he'll mirror Kevin White of West Virginia. The other corner, that's where things get dicey. Ashton Lampkin remains out with an injury, so you'll see Ramon Richards, a true freshman from San Antonio, a kid who was playing high school quarterback 12 months ago. He, at times in this ballgame, will have to match up with Kevin White. That'll lead to a safety over the top, and that's where things get interesting. Jordan Stearns, only a sophomore safety, last week linked to 3 TCU touchdowns, including one where he misplayed a deep ball. Big test right now for Oklahoma State's defensive backs, Mike.
All right, thanks, Quint. West Virginia has struggled with kickoff coverage. They're number 112 out of 125 teams. And Oklahoma State has world-class speed in Tyreek Hill, already with 2 touchdown returns this year. Michael Molinari will kick it away for the Mountaineers. Got all of this one and drove it out of the end zone, so Oklahoma State will start from the 25-yard line. Cowboys quarterback is Dax Garman. He's coming off a tough performance against TCU. Completed only 10 of 25 passes for a meager 132 yards. The offensive line is very young, and they've had trouble protecting.
And unfortunately, they lose a receiver, a sophomore, Jawan Seals, suspended for today's game, a starter before public intoxication. He was charged with public intoxication after last week's game, so he's not in there. Expect Oklahoma State to get more into some power run formations. You already see right now you have a 2 tight end set. This is very rare for Oklahoma State. They're going to try to get the power run game going.
Garman comes out of that tight set and throws on first down, complete out to about the 30-yard line. Got it out to James Washington, who's starting for Seals.
Well, you mentioned Tyreek Hill has the fastest 200-meter time ever in high school in our country. So, yeah, I'd say that's world-class. Jeremy Seaton, a fullback and tight end. He'll move all around. He's a big target in the pass game. Darrell Worley, who was hurt his ribs last week and was questionable. He will be able to play today, so that is good. But Terrell Chestnut will not play today for West Virginia with concussion symptoms.
Mountaineers play that odd front, a 3-3-5 defense, and they are very small. They try to be very athletic, but people have been able to pound the ball on them at times out of this formation.
They have a lot of speed. West Virginia has run a 3-down line system for years, going all the way back to Rich Rod. But Tony Gibson in his first year played more aggressive. See how tight everybody is up near the line of scrimmage. Did this last week to Baylor.
Garmin with a short set, throws complete, and they've got a first down to the West Virginia 46-yard line. Washington again, the sophomore out of Stamford, Texas. Ickey Banks, number 34, is playing for Chestnut. Had to make the tackle, but it's a gain of 18 yards.
Washington in there for Seals, who I mentioned suspended. 2 good throws early by Garmin. If anything, where he struggles is short and intermediate throws. He a little bit off. Good long ball throw, but his accuracy off on short throws. It's good early.
Rowland dragging a tackler with him, goes to the West Virginia 42. And the Mountaineer nose guard, Kyle Rose, lost his helmet, so he's got to come off for a play.
Rose, the biggest defensive lineman at just under 300 pounds, Mike. You mentioned how small this defensive line is. The way they will try to get people around the ball to play physical against the run is because of the defensive backfield. You're able to walk up more people, but this is not a big front for West Virginia.
Mountaineers show pressure, which is something they did very effectively last week in the upset of Baylor. The question is, will they try the same scheme this week? And here they come, a sellout blitz, and the pass is incomplete. And even if you don't get there, what you're trying to do is rattle the quarterback and make him that much more inaccurate.
Well, and Dax Garmin saw what was coming. KJ Dillon, the strong side linebacker, showed he was going to blitz, got exactly what he wanted, but that ball was just off. He was throwing that to David Glidden. The call was there. They changed the play, but that's been the problem. J.W. Walsh, of course, was a starter at the beginning of the season. He hurt his foot in the second game, done for the year. And Garmin, a young man who has not played since 2009. He had some transfer issues in high school, transferred from Arizona to here, sat out. This is his first action since way back his junior year in high school.
That's a remarkable story. Pressure again. Garmin throws this time and completes it down to the 40. Got it to Austin Hayes, making only his 8th catch of the year, and Carl Joseph made the stop for West Virginia.
And I think looks like go for it down here, because if you punt it, you're out of field goal range. So, and if you punt it and it goes in the end zone, you're only gaining about 14 yards. This is going to be a quick throw, I would imagine.
West Virginia again shows blitz. And Tyreek Hill, number 24, is in as the running back. He's the kid with that world-class speed. Splits his time between running back and wide receiver. Garmin under pressure and throws incomplete. Again intended for Hayes. Noble Wachuku was putting on the pressure from his left defensive end spot, and so far the go after the quarterback strategy has worked.
It all comes down to quarterback play. This is there. It's picked up. You threw it. It wasn't picked up. The guy came loose in the middle, but you knew you wanted to hit that long route to Hayes, and this is just a missed throw. Good call from the sideline twice from Oklahoma State to change it. I think it was right to go for it, but Garmin just off on 2 throws there at the end of the drive.
Clint Trickett is West Virginia's quarterback, number 3 in the country in passing yards, over 2,500 so far. He's riding a school record streak, 8 straight games with at least 300 yards passing. And he comes out throwing, a little screen. And into Oklahoma State territory. Wendell Smallwood picks up 14 yards on the swing. They've got a slew of backs who split time at West Virginia, and their best lineman, Quentin Spann, was out in front providing the convoy. Smallwood again, dragging a tackler with him down to the 44.
Well, you mentioned one of our impact players already. When you think of Daniel Holgerson, you don't think about guards being the most important players. But in this offense, and maybe on this team, these are 2 of the most important players, along with Mark Lewinsky. Ofa Hautau in the middle there is having a great year, very active. And Kevin Peterson, we already mentioned at the top, the best cover guy. Will be looking at Kevin White quite a bit today.
Smallwood again off the left side, following his tight end, breaks clear at the 30 down to the 25. Cody Clay, number 88, led him through the hole for a gain of 20 yards. Smallwood out of Wilmington, Delaware, has had one 100-yard game this year. That came against Texas Tech. And as you said, Ed, you don't expect to see a Dana Holgorsen team running the ball this much. But Rich Rodriguez said it best when he started this spread concept. Some people spread it to throw, some people spread it to run, and you can do both. Bowie into the game at tailback. He'll take it off the right side. He's inside the 20.
And one of the things with Clint Trickett last year, just trying to figure out this offense, he didn't get here until August. And Dana Holgorsen laughing about him not even knowing his wide receiver's name. So much more comfort. But this is a run-based offense. For the first time in 4 years for Dana Holgorsen, they've run the ball 50 or more times in a game, and they've done it 4 times so far. This is a run-based offense.
Trickett with the play fake over the middle. White, touchdown. Kevin White, whether he's open or not, is the prime target. That time he was open, and Trickett put it right on his fingertips.
Well, this is exactly what Quint Kessenich was talking about at the start. That's a true freshman there. Ramon Richards. Because Ashton Lampkin is down, their second best corner, Richards, who was a quarterback last year, just didn't understand where he was on the field. And when we talked to Glenn Spencer, he said, I want to double cover this guy. I want to get some help. But, you know, our corner's going to have to hold up. That was just a young guy who didn't understand when to break on the ball.
Lambert for the point after. Kevin White has never been the go-to guy in his career. High school, junior college, or college until this year. Now, he may be the best wide receiver in the country.
ESPN College Football is presented by Cars.com. All drive, no drama.
They call it the Spirit Walk. The band and the Spirit Squad lead Mike Gundy and the players on a stroll to Boone Pickens Stadium 2 hours and 15 minutes before the game. This is a tradition started by Les Miles, the Hat, when he was the Oklahoma State head coach. Mike Gundy was on that staff.
Les Miles started a pretty impressive run of offensive coordinators. Here, Les Miles became a head coach. Mike Gundy became a head coach. Dana Holgorsen became a head coach. Todd Monken became a head coach. Larry Fedora became a head coach. Everyone who's been an OC here for a while has gone on to be a head coach. Something in the water here in Stillwater.
Hill 5 yards deep, decides to take a knee. J.T. Barrett leads the explosive number 13 Ohio State Buckeyes in a Big Ten battle with Penn State on Saturday Night Football tonight at 8 Eastern on ABC.
Well, you're seeing the outcome of a few years of the NCAA penalties against Penn State. I think this is the year that everyone, including Bill O'Brien before he left, targeted as the tough year. And boy, are you seeing that with the lack of depth they have.
And on the other side, anybody surprised about Ohio State does not know what Urban Meyer can do. He's an exceptional coach.
And J.T. Barrett, the way he's played over the last 5 weeks, right back into the national championship conversation.
See if Oklahoma State can generate a little offense. Garmin on the half roll. And completes a pass up over the 35 for a first down. Throws to Jeremy Seaton, who's his H-back / tight end / fullback. And they want to go fast. And they give it to Desmond Rowland.
You know, last week in the loss to TCU, pretty rough going for the offense. And this offensive line, who has lost 5 players that were expected to be starters or really good backups this year. But Mike Gundy said the funny thing is we actually played pretty well in the run game last week. Maybe as best we've played all year. They just played against a better opponent. So don't think that this team hasn't been working on the run game and may try to get that going. It'd be huge for Gundy.
Rolling a couple of steps back, floats it to the sideline. Perfect coverage out there by Worley. And let's check in with Quint.
Mike, Tony Gibson, their defensive coordinator for West Virginia, told me pregame they're going to continue to dial up the pressure, play a lot of one high safety or even cover zero. He's more worried about screens and picks and rubs on the outside because Oklahoma State knows it's coming. But they look at Dax Garment like he's a stationary target. They want to hit him early and often.
Well, certainly he doesn't show a lot of mobility. About the only time he has moved so far in this ball game has been on planned rollouts.
And there's that one safety in the middle of the field. They call it the one high. He's about 18 yards from scrimmage, and we'll back
pressure coming on Garmin again. Drilled as he got across the 40-yard line. Looked like a hold, and this will come back. Kwiatkowski, the middle linebacker, made the tackle.
Holding number 50 of the offense. Penalty will be declined. 4th down.
That's Zach Veach, the right guard, and they'll turn it down to force the punt.
We got to think for Tony Gibson, the first-year defensive coordinator, longtime assistant under Rich Rodriguez, left with Rich Rodriguez, and then came back, was promoted to defensive coordinator when Keith Patterson left for Arizona State this offseason. But got to be happy facing an Oklahoma State offense that isn't quite what it was for the last 7 years.
And the first thing he did was put back the 3-3-5 defense. Taking on the bounce, and the Mountaineers down at the 10-yard line after a 48-yard punt, 1-yard return. We check in with Reese Davis.
All right, Mike, time for a Dr. Pepper conference update in the Big 12. TCU and Texas Tech are playing. It didn't take long to get the fireworks going. Davis Webb to Kenny Williams, finding some flat-footed frogs, and he's off to the races to give the Red Raiders the lead. Didn't last long. So a minute and a half into the game, we got 2 touchdowns after Aaron Green sees the Red Raiders C parting for him to make it 7-7, and Tech drove down and kicked a field goal. Haven't even played 4 minutes yet. It's 10-7 already.
Reese, thanks very much. 7-0 here, West Virginia. They'll start from their own 10. Smallwood back at tailback. Finds another nice hole, picks up 4 to the 14-yard line. Stopped by James Castleman, one of 2 returning starters along that defensive line, which is probably the best unit on this Oklahoma State defense.
For West Virginia, it's been follow the fullback, Cody Clay, number 88, listed as a tight end and H-back. He's been the guy who's been leading the run, so might start getting a key on that.
The 262-pounder. And Smallwood will get a couple here out to the 16.
Well, you go all the way back to 2010, Mike, when Dana Holgorsen was the offensive coordinator here at Oklahoma State. He was only here 1 year. Mike Gundy brought him in, said, I want you to install an offense. I want to be more of a CEO of head coach. So you're seeing Holgersen's offense. It is still run. It looked like there was defensive encroachment. But this offense that West Virginia runs, you were mentioning that spread to run. If you think of
Offside, number 92 of the defense. The 5-yard penalty makes the line to gain. 1st down.
Jimmy Bean, the veteran defensive end, made the mistake, and that cost them an automatic 1st down.
You don't want to help West Virginia here, do you?
No.
But going back to this offense, if you think of all the great offenses here at Oklahoma State, yeah, you think of Des Bryant, you think of Brandon Weeden, all the great throwers. It really was about the inside run play, the inside zone play. And right now, this offensive line for West Virginia is giving them so many options because they can block the middle 3 people.
Trickett under pressure, throws, and a perfect strike to Alford, and Alford is off to the races. Mario Alford, 79 yards on a perfect strike from Trickett, and 2 big pass plays for the Mountaineers. Ramon Richards, the freshman, beaten inside, and Alford made him pay. Run, 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 set you up, and throw.
Well, you could see the safety came running down. What he's reading is the swing pass, so the safety comes running down, and exactly like we saw before for the young cornerback, he let Kevin White inside too hard. That time, if you don't have a safety inside help, you cannot let the receiver break to the inside. There's no safety there. He was coming up to run to do the run support. However, looked to me like that safety could have waited just a beat longer.
A 3-play drive that went 90 yards in a minute 19, and West Virginia up by 2 scores, first quarter from Stillwater.
I just want to say thank you for this day.
Welcome back to Stillwater. Homecoming weekend, and West Virginia spoiling it so far for the Cowboys, 14-0.
Well, unfortunately for Glenn Spencer, the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma State, he's getting awfully thin in his secondary. A note this morning, Jawan Offrey is another defensive back they're missing because of suspension. But West Virginia is trying to buck a trend here. In the last 2 years under Dana Holgorsen, they've had some key wins, 2 back-to-back against Baylor and Texas, 2012. Then they stumbled down the stretch. And then last year, they took Oklahoma State probably out of the Big 12 championship and a trip to the Fiesta Bowl, and then couldn't rebound from that. So got to be nice for Holgorsen to see after a big win against Baylor coming out and striking the way they are.
If you have a tough time covering kickoffs, just have Josh Lambert kick it out of or deep into the end zone. This one might be returnable. Hill 3 yards deep. He'll bring it out. Trying to get to the outside with that speed. And he's chased out of bounds. Good coverage that time at the 15. Here's Reese Davis.
All right, Mike, I want to get you up to date on a couple of highly ranked teams. First, #1 Mississippi State. Josh Robinson, a little bit underappreciated at times, goes through Kentucky for the first score. He's had over 400 yards in his 3 previous games, a touchdown early. And Jeremy Langford caps off a 75-yard drive for Michigan State against Michigan. Not unusual to see the Wolverines with a 0 on the scoreboard against Sparty, or halfway through the first on ABC.
Boy, Reese, you're right. It's been a struggle for them. Oklahoma State will take over at its own 14-yard line. Tyreek Hill behind Garmin on this series. Garmin, short set, throws complete to Brandon Shepard, who leads his team in receiving yards, but still shy of 400 yards. Wes Tonkery, the outside linebacker, makes the tackle.
This offense, since J.W. Walsh went out, has really struggled. Walsh was more of a playmaker, could run it last year with Clint Chelf. At the end of the season, you could run the option, but Garmin, a young man, just getting his experience, his first time playing in college, but he's not the runner that they've had at the position, so still trying to find who they are.
Hill straight into the middle of the line, picks up only a couple. When you have a backup quarterback that really hasn't been on the field since 2009 and a totally inexperienced offensive line, that is a combination for disaster. Yeah. There's so many things that automatically you can't do.
And that's J.W. Walsh, who had surgery on that foot. You can see the boot. They've started saying this week that he is done for the year. Reports were that he may be back, but he'll be a junior next year, so he'll get another run at it. But for this year,
Hill on the screen. High steps his way across the 40 to the 43. When he was in high school, he ran the second fastest 100-meter dash ever by a high schooler. It would have been 6th in the Olympics had he posted that time.
He was a junior college guy. You mentioned Glenn Spencer, the defensive coordinator. His home is in Georgia. From the state of Georgia, they went and got him.
The fake to Hill, instead the throw outside. Glidden makes the catch. And Garmin, his best toss of the ball game so far.
And when you watch Garmin, he really does have a very live arm. He throws the deep ball very well. The ball comes out quickly. He throws the ball pretty effortlessly. Is not great with actual touch yet, but that's not unusual for a guy who's really playing his first college ball of his career.
Garmin, play fake. The out complete to Washington. He's brought down by Ricky Rumpf.
Well, this is the far hash to the far out route. This is the one where you say, does the guy have the arm strength to make this throw? And Garmin clearly does. He really does have a gifted arm. We'll see how his experience and actually improves.
Off on that one, as Worley had good coverage on the outside against Marcel Aitman.
But you go back and Mike Gundy, when we were meeting with him yesterday, we mentioned this offensive line and how they're missing 5 guys. He said it's hard for Garmin. He's playing the first time. He doesn't quite have the weapons the quarterbacks in the past had. The offensive line's not playing great, and we just can't. He's not able to improve as much as he could if he were getting protection and some run game help.
Flags down. Somebody moved.
False start. 58 of the offense. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Daniel Koenig, the left tackle.
Well, for Dax Garman, it has been a long, strange trip. He transferred in high school. They felt like he transferred for sports reasons, so he was made ineligible. They moved to Texas. However, in Texas, they felt like he moved again to become eligible, so they said he was ineligible for his senior year. Then went to Arizona to try to play for the Wildcats and decided then to transfer back closer to home to Oklahoma State, and that is why he hasn't played since his junior season in high school in Oklahoma.
Garman with the deep ball into double coverage, and it's picked off by Drayvon Henry for West Virginia. Their 5th interception of the season and a pass that was underthrown. For Garman, his 8th pick of the season. And West Virginia ball when we come back, already up by 2 touchdowns. Really not sure where that last pass was going, were you?
Yeah, it was not a great route. Did not see the corner there. But, I've been really impressed with Mike Gundy. We talked to him yesterday, and he said, it's my job on years like this when we don't have quite the talent we're used to or the veteran team. It's my job as a head coach not to panic. And he just seems really calm. This is not obviously what they're used to. They're still 5-2, but struggling on offense, and he's not panicking.
But coming up in the nasty portion of their schedule, that was Andrew Bowie, who was cut down after a gain of a couple. We have not seen Russell Shell at tailback, who is West Virginia's leading ground gainer so far. He's coming off an ankle injury. They weren't sure how much he'd be able to play today. Trickett, long delay to Bowie. Haven't seen a draw play that slowly forming in a long time.
Yeah, it's funny. It caught me off guard. I was going downfield. But here you are, 3rd and 7. The problem have been on the short side of the field. This is where they've had the trouble for Oklahoma State.
5 wide receivers. Keep an eye on White. He's in the slot on the near side. Trickett steps up, throws to White. Can't get away from the underneath coverage. Very solid. They take him down at the 21. Furman and Jacobs, both outside linebackers, converge on the nation's leading receiver.
And for Glenn Spencer, the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma State, that's got to be a sigh of relief. Your offense turned the ball over, so you go out, you get your first 3 and out of the ball game after the offense hasn't done much. Get you guys out. It's a 90-degree day. Get a nice break here early in the ball game.
Hill on the punt from O'Toole. Crosses the 30 to the 31-yard line. A return of 3 after a nice kick. 50 yards. What a year for Mississippi State and Mississippi. That's just remarkable.
And what a year for Kentucky, starting to be relevant. Mark Stoops doing a wonderful job there.
Oklahoma State starts from its own 31. West Virginia showing pressure again. Here they come, and the pass underneath to Teddy Johnson. The fullback couldn't handle it. K.J. Dillon coming on the blitz, and West Virginia just throwing the kitchen sink at Oklahoma State the way they did last week against Baylor.
Yeah, when we talked to Tony Gibson, the defensive coordinator, he said this entire defense had lost their mojo last year and have over the last couple of years. And Gibson, a former college defensive back, he's brought a lot more aggressive. And just everybody's up at the line of scrimmage.
Delay. They try to run into the teeth of it with Desmond Rowland, and he gets nothing. Well, one of the best examples, the win over Baylor last week, was such a shock for West Virginia, giving up only 27 points because the previous 2 years they'd given up 136 in 2 games.
And because Oklahoma State's taken its time, West Virginia able to bring in about 6 fresh bodies for an obvious passing down situation, which Oklahoma State has just not been very good on 3rd and long this year. And West Virginia just got extra bodies, fresh bodies on the field. Extra would be breaking the rules.
Yes, it would. Draw play. Crowd will not like that call, and Rowland goes nowhere.
But You know, I feel a lot of people are asking Mike Gundy to play a true freshman, Mason Rudolph, who was a highly recruited young man out of South Carolina. But they are doing everything to try to redshirt that young man. They lost J.W. Walsh to injury. Wes Lunt had already transferred last year to Illinois, was a starter there actually before being hurt. So they were down the depth, and Gundy just won't pull off. And 3rd and 11, he's concerned about an interception.
Jalen Myers is the 6th different punt returner West Virginia is trying to use. They have had no success in this area, and Myers will lose a yard after a 52-yard punt. Bo Wallace and number 3 Ole Miss will go against number 24 LSU under the lights on ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton Hotels tonight at 7:15 Eastern on ESPN and Watch ESPN. And if you have never been to Baton Rouge for a night game on Saturday night, you don't know what college football is really supposed to be about.
Mike Gundy, of course, worked under Les Miles. They helped build this program here. And then when Les took the job at LSU, Mike was lucky enough, he said yesterday, to get the head job, and has done a terrific job keeping it going.
Trickett pressured out of the pocket and throws it away. And if I'm correct, this is the 55th anniversary of Billy Cannon's punt return that turned into a national championship moment.
We'll see how Ole Miss reacts with that high of a. It's an awfully young team. They're awfully good on defense. But we'll see how they react. Yep. There's, of course, the sign that we're getting used to in college football, where pictures now represent the plays, the formations, the protections, so you can go faster.
Trickett 4 out of 5 so far. That was his first incompletion. Also has 2 first-quarter touchdowns. Trickett again throws underneath to White, his 3rd catch. He's 2nd in the nation in catches and 1st in the nation in 145.7 yards a game.
Number 64 of the offense. The penalty will be half the distance to the goal. 2nd down.
Mark Glowinski, a very physical offensive lineman, called for a hold, and that will back the Mountaineers up.
Well, of course, I put Glowinski in as one of our impact players, and he has to go and get a holding penalty.
Well, it's an impact.
Well, you know, it's funny. I've been in that position. That was holding. It is an impact, but a negative one, unfortunately. But I've been in that position. Glowinski was expecting the center to come over and help him, and when he wasn't there, he's trying to, it's called pass the guy off, but you got to let him go. Good call by the official, but I think the center, his buddy in there, Tyler Orlowski, should have been there on his hip potentially.
2nd and 17 for West Virginia. Trickett will give it off to Dreamus Smith. He's the 3rd running back we've seen for West Virginia so far. Jordan Stearns made the tackle.
We're talking to Dana Holgorsen about all of the depth at running back. He said it's a position you have to have in our offense and also for special teams. So we've been lucky to build some depth there.
Third and long for West Virginia. 1:34 to go first quarter. 4-man rush. Trickett under pressure. Fumble. West Virginia recovers, but Trickett got clothesline. Emmanuel Ogba, number 7 in the country in sacks, came off the quarter with a vengeance.
Ogba just a sophomore, and the coaches have been raving about his ability. He comes off the right tackle, just runs right by number 78, Marquise Lucas. That's just nothing but a speed rush. Causes the fumble and gets the sack.
Trickett's lucky he was able to get up from that one. The kick to Tyreek Hill. Trying to make something happen and loses 4 yards for his trouble after a 44-yard kick.
Well, they've been talking a lot about Ogba, and they've been expecting this type of productivity, and they're starting to get it. Just a good dip underneath. A little bit slow out of that. Boy, a real physical tackle. And give some credit to Lucas, the tackle who got beat. He didn't give up on the play. He went and recovered the fumble. If you don't recover that, Oklahoma State clearly did. He was the only guy in the position. So at least give the tackle a little bit of credit for finishing the play, but Ogba just got a great get off.
Ogba now has 8 sacks on the season. He has been a bright spot. Garmin back to work. Good field position for the Cowboys. They start from their own 44. Rowland tries to get to the outside, has his legs cut out from under him by Worley, who had a rib injury a week ago, missed a lot of the ball game. Healthy enough to start. He is very talented at that corner spot.
Well, Worley's one of those guys you mentioned about the trouble they've had in punt return. That rib injury last week was because he was one of those multiple players back fielding a punt, fumbled it, fell on it, and injured some ribs, but able to go today. Unfortunately, Terrell Chestnut not able to go there. So both teams a little thin in their cornerback positions.
2nd and 10 for the Cowboys. Rolling again. This time with running room across the 50 to the West Virginia 42 and a first down. Brought down by Shaq Headaway as the first quarter comes to an end with West Virginia on top by 2 touchdowns courtesy of their senior quarterback Rick Trickett. Before we went to the break, I called quarterback Clint Trickett Rick Trickett, and that was because I was thinking about his dad, who was a longtime coach, former West Virginia coach, who's at Florida State, and it's been a football family. Rick's in his 41st year of coaching, and when you have a coach's kid who grows up to play a quarterback, he knows a little bit about the game by the time he starts.
Yeah, and it was a tough weekend last weekend for the Trickett family. Rick missed the game against Notre Dame. He suffered a heart attack before coaching for Florida State. And Rick, they didn't tell Clint until after the game. And of course, it was a big win for Baylor, but all is well. Got a bye week this week, and apparently the elder Trickett was back at practice on Tuesday.
Garment to a wide open David Glidden over the middle. Good throw, an easy throw. Drayvon Henry made the tackle, but it's a gain of 17. Tailback Desmond Rowland stopped by the interior of that defense. Christian Brown, number 95, led the charge.
Unfortunately for Rowland, his helmet came off, so he'll have to come out for a snap. Oklahoma State without Rennie Childs today, out with a bruised knee. So going down the depth a little bit. Of course, we've seen what Tyreek Hill can do with his speed, so pretty safe.
2nd and long. Hill offset to the left. Play action fake to him and a slant overthrown. Intended for Shepard, but not even close.
You just a miss by Dax Garman. You know, when you came into this year, you look at some of the positions around the country. J.W. Walsh, the starting quarterback, was a guy you just couldn't lose here. Of course, you lost Clint Chelf to graduation. Wes Lunt had already transferred, but Garman just not quite where they have been at the position at quarterback in the past, and of course the offensive line low, so the offense is really struggling.
Yeah, they really thought Walsh should have an outstanding year this year. He started 5 games a season ago. All-out blitz on Garman. Garman throws underneath, and the ball off of the hands of Glidden. That's a ball that needs to be caught. Drayvon Henry with the coverage, and they'll bring on the field goal unit. Ben Grogan, he's having an outstanding year with 17 out of 21 so far. Will try one a shade over 40 yards. His long this year is 47. And he's been hot lately, made 15 of his last 17. Trying to get the Cowboys on the board. Plenty of leg, and he knocks it through. Oklahoma State gives them a reason to cheer on homecoming.
ESPN is your home of the new college football playoff.
Welcome back to college football on ESPN, presented by Cars.com. 14-3 West Virginia Kickoff coming. The Mountaineers have struggled with kickoff coverage, but returning it, they have been brilliant. And Oklahoma State, a very good unit covering. The number 3 return man in the country, Mario Alford, averaging 34.8 yards a return. He already has 2 for touchdowns.
And as we near Halloween, Lucy went out on the field and knocked the ball off the tee. Super hot today, unseasonably warm. I bet it's well over 100 down on the field.
Gibson is back with Alford. Swimmed under at the 16-yard line. Here's Reese.
All right, Mike. Time to give you an update from the Georgia Tech-Pittsburgh game. This is James Conner running free. But Pittsburgh is handling the ball as if it had been drenched in baby oil and wrapped in rattlesnakes. They fumbled on 4 of their first 5 snaps, and they lost 5 fumbles in the first quarter, tying an FBS record. And as a result, they're behind Georgia Tech 28-0.
That's amazing.
I think Virginia Tech had the same issue against Miami. Maybe there's something going on down in those parts.
Smallwood for West Virginia. Stop shy of the 20 and down to Quint Kessenich.
Mike, Russell Shell is here, as you guys alluded to, West Virginia's leading rusher. He is dressed. He's on the sideline. Right ankle heavily taped. Remember last week he had to leave the game against Baylor with a high ankle sprain to that right ankle. I watched him warm up, not near 100%, only going to be used in case of an emergency today.
And it would be hard to imagine that they would have that with 5 guys who they have used as running backs this year. Alford makes the catch. We've already seen Smallwood, Bowie, and Smith. Dustin Garrison is also available. So you get the feeling they're trying to hold Shell out with an injured ankle and not put any stress on it.
That is definitely one position where they can afford to lose a guy who is the top guy. They go 4 at least deep behind him.
Trickett has now hit 5 out of 6 passes in this game. Flag is down. West Virginia moved.
False start. 57 of the offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Adam Pankey, the sophomore left tackle, came out of his stance.
And West Virginia offensively pulling back a little bit, slowing down some. This Oklahoma State defense, which looked like they were going to get gassed a bit early, able to kind of regroup here.
Smallwood. Just the 27-yard line. They have to reach the 31 for a first down. Sam Wren, number 89, made the stop. Excuse me, they have to get back to the 31 for the original line of scrimmage.
You know, this is somewhere where a guy like Kevin White is lined up to the top right. He's working against Kevin Peterson. This is somewhere where if you could get just a 6 or 7 yard route to him.
Instead, a very conservative call. The draw to Smallwood, and Ryan Simmons, a middle linebacker, makes the tackle.
How crazy is this? But it feels like Dana Holgorsen is calling this play like he trusts his defense right now.
Yes.
They're up 14-3. How many times could you say that in the first 3 years for Holgorsen? But right now, he probably just feels like if I don't turn it over and we do what we do, we should be able to get out of here with the win. And I don't think he's wrong.
Smallwood again. Room to run this time. And Smallwood cracks across the 45 to the 47-yard line. To answer your questions, how many times could you say that in the last 3 years? None would be the answer.
Well, but it still comes down to how effectively they run the ball this year for West Virginia. That time, Oklahoma State expecting nothing but pass. They go with 3 down linemen, including a stand-up nose guard, Billy Leveni, who just jumped out of the way, opened a huge hole. But that's the base for this offense this year is the run.
Trickett floats it out to the right side to Dreamus Smith. And Sam Wren chased him as a defensive end and made a good play.
We'll go back to the previous play and check out Wendell Smallwood. Oh, boy. Just gets a helmet-to-helmet shot there at the very end by Josh Furman. He gets up immediately waving his hand. So we'll check on Smallwood. We already got a report that they will likely be out without Shell today.
Trickett for White. Double coverage, and the man who had him closest was Kevin Peterson and did a good job right on his shoulder.
They've already shown Oklahoma State struggles on the other side. Ramon Richards is down, and this is just excellent coverage. Step for step by Peterson, found the ball, and now a very big third down with Smallwood out. This is a throwdown. 3 down linemen for Oklahoma State, no pressure. So now Trickett going to change the play. You need a little bit of longer route because everybody's backing out.
3-man rush. Trickett with time throws underneath. Alford to the Oklahoma State 46. That will be shy of a first down.
Yeah, but right on whether you should go for it or not on fourth, and if it were 1, maybe, but 4th and 3, again, it's odd to see Dana Holgorsen trusting his defense as much as he has, but with Dax Garman and the Oklahoma State offense struggling the way they are, I don't blame him.
Tyreek Hill is deep. O'Toole floats his kick down to the 10-yard line. A little spirit dancing and homecoming. It's supposed to be the best homecoming in the country. It is the best dancing, obviously. Isn't that a soul song?
ESPN College Football is brought to you by Wells Fargo. When people talk, great things happen.
That's the Boren Veterinary Medical Teaching Hospital here on campus. 4th-year students in OSU's College of Veterinary Sciences getting terrific hands-on training. The Boren Veterinary Medical Teaching Hospital provides care for about 12,000 animals each year. Big 12 standings, and it is a jumble right now with Kansas State at the top.
And I think if you talk about the college football playoff, I would think Kansas State, Baylor, and TCU are probably the only ones. I think it would take a 1-loss team to get in for the Big 12, and if Kansas State runs it out, I certainly think they would deserve it. You go back to that Auburn game. They won that game and just lost it on the scoreboard. That was a bummer for them.
Garman with the play fake comes out throwing and throws too high, intended for Shepard, and really exposed him to the contact from Ickey Banks.
Ball seems to get away just a bit. You see guys, young guys like Garman with very little experience. They have a live arm. The ball tends to go high on them. There's some technique things you can do, but that's something that in studying film Garman struggles with a bit.
He's only hit 1 of his last 6. And they'll keep it on the ground with Rowland, who gets to the outside and picks up a first down. The 6'2", 210-pound senior.
Actually, I think this was Hill.
It was Tyreek Hill, you're right.
Well, when he turned the corner, there is a little difference in the speed when Tyreek Hill has it. And when he turned that corner, and he stepped out at the 25, so didn't quite get all of that forward progress. But he has a little different gear. Defensive coaches were saying that when he was in camp for the first time, our linebackers thought they knew the angles to take, and then they said, oh, we've got to adjust. Hill's in the game.
Hill again. And if he gets in the open field, the only people that are going to catch him are the guys from the 2012 Olympics in London.
Yeah, his 200 time in high school, he would have finished 6th in those Olympics.
Hill again. They wanted to do this. They wanted to come out against West Virginia and establish the run. They got away from it and threw an awful lot early, but now they're back to the run game.
And this offensive line, I've mentioned there's 5 players that were expected to be here this season. 1 transferred, 1 went to law school. Devin Davis, who has an NFL future, is injured with a knee. He is out. Zachary Crabtree is out with a left leg injury, and Brandon Garrett is also out. So this offensive line decimated by guys transferring, being injured, but they played better last week and starting to get some gaps for Hill.
The injured player is Carl Joseph, the safety for West Virginia, who might be the most talented defensive back they've had in 15 or 20 years. He's just an outstanding, hard-hitting safety.
Has started every ball game since he's been on campus at West Virginia. So in the defense run by Tony Gibson, and what a difference a year makes. Tony Gibson calling defenses for the first time in his career, a long time assistant under Rich Rodriguez, went to Michigan, went to Arizona, got called back by Dana Holgorsen. He does not want to miss this guy.
Let's check in with Quinn.
Mike, you guys referenced the temperature, over 90 degrees today in Stillwater. I'm on the West Virginia sideline, which has been baking in the sun. I mean, it's got to be 100 degrees here. Training staff working hard, guys in front of the mist machines, drinking a lot of sports drink. I get the sense that in the fourth quarter, fatigue could be an issue for the Mountaineers because of the extreme heat today in Oklahoma.
Quinn, thanks very much. Mountaineers have already had a couple of players hurt. End around to Shepard. He tries to get to the outside and makes it. Shepard cuts it back. 30, 20, 10, inside the 10, first and goal, Oklahoma State. Teddy Johnson did a heck of a job on the outside with a big block.
Watch how Teddy Johnson stays on his feet here, and give a lot of credit to Shepard for setting up the block, but Johnson, the fullback, he's saying, come on, run with us. Gets another block there. What a great job by 39.
Garman throws underneath. It's going to be a walk-in touchdown to Teddy Johnson. So he did the hard work on the last play, and then they set him up for a little swing, and there was nobody there for West Virginia.
Terrific call by Mike Gundy and Mike Yursich. Watch. This is exactly what he did on the play before, except the other way. So you give the same look. You think it's going to be out the end around. Instead, Johnson just walks in. Great play calling by Oklahoma State.
Grogan for the point after, and all at once the Cowboys, who looked like they were going to get blown out of their own stadium on homecoming, are right back in the ballgame.
Well, Teddy Johnson, what do you think? Teddy ball game? Should we come up with some kind of knit game? Gets a great block for Brandon Shepard, and then does the exact opposite but the same play, and Johnson, the fullback, walks in.
The first touchdown for Oklahoma State in the last 8 quarters. And the last drive took them 89 yards for a score after they'd gained only 143 in the first 5 drives.
It's kind of mind-blowing as good as Oklahoma State has been offensively, going all the way back to when Mike Gundy was the offensive coordinator for Les Miles. But they knew it was going to be rough this year. They manufactured a nice kind of end-around play. Found a playmaker in their fullback. Who knew?
Very high short kick. Alford from the 10. Swallowed up at the 20. And here's Reese Davis.
All right, Mike, got some entertaining games going on. Kentucky taking on #1 Mississippi State. Dak Prescott's 9th rushing touchdown, 2nd most in the country. Bulldogs up by 10, but Kentucky is threatening. #10 TCU against Texas Tech. Trevon Boykin on the move. Josh Dotson, those two hook up often. 24-17. Horned Frogs are also on the move. That game still early in the 2nd quarter. High-scoring affair in Fort Worth.
Reese, thanks very much. Wendell Smallwood will start this series along with Dustin Garrison in the Mountaineer backfield, along with Trickett. The fake to Garrison. And the complete pass to Dakeil Shorts, true freshman wide receiver.
Well, and unfortunately for Shorts, his helmet came off while he was still playing. And the rule says that when you lose your helmet, you have to stop in the play. It's actually a personal foul. If Shorts continues on, it's a personal foul, but the officials did a great job. As soon as his helmet came off and he wasn't down, they started blowing the play dead. Obviously a big safety issue to have a guy running around without a helmet and the ball in his arms.
Trickett under pressure, and they got him. The sack to James Castleman, his 2nd of the season.
Castleman's having himself a nice couple of weeks. He had an interception in last week's ball game. Here you're going to see the big senior run a stunt with Houghton, excuse me. Gets a little shoestring tackle. Nice couple of games for Castle.
Fake the draw, throw the flanker screen, complete it to Mario Alford. And we'll check in with Quint.
Mike, you saw Wendell Smallwood back in the game after taking that headshot. Their athletic trainer Dave Kearns gave him the okay to go. Big development, though, here. Dana Holgerson telling his receivers, I want fresh, fast legs in the game. Little concern that Alford and Kevin White aren't substituting themselves out of the game. While West Virginia is going no huddle, they're not exactly playing fast right now.
No, they're not, Quint. Got 5 wide receivers in this set, an empty backfield for Trickett. And Trickett throws over the middle, incomplete. Couple of big plays from this Oklahoma State defense. And Mike Gundy told us the other day that the defense is much better than its numbers.
And that ball should be caught. Thrown a little bit low, but his receiver went down. But Gundy very happy with what Glenn Spencer's been able to do with a very young group, especially in the secondary. Said that we've left him on the field forever. A little different here in the second quarter, though. The offense has been getting a little movement, obviously scored, and Oklahoma State starting to play a little bit on that side of the ball.
Oh, what a beautiful punt by Nick O'Toole. 57 yards and killed it inside the 10. Dayton Wilson was down to stop the punt before it went into the end zone. Let's take a look at our Aflac trivia question for today. Which 3 wide receivers have had at least 7 consecutive 100-yard receiving games since 2000?
Well, I know Kevin White from West Virginia is one of them.
Yes.
That's why we're asking the question. You got to figure we're at Oklahoma State, where a lot of great receivers have played since 2000. So I don't think there's an Oklahoma State grad in there.
So the Cowboys will start deep in their own territory after being able to spot West Virginia 14 points and come back and close it within 4 on a field goal and touchdown of their own.
And I think you're going to see at this part of the field Oklahoma State be incredibly conservative. You have seen that Garmin, the quarterback, has not quite figured out the accuracy issues he has in the short passing game. So don't be surprised if anything thrown here is just going to be a long throw or a screen.
Carl Joseph is back in at safety, and there's the screen to Hill with all that speed. There is a flag down back at the 3-yard line.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer with contact to the helmet. 15-yard penalty added to the end of the play. First down.
K.J. Dillon was coming on the blitz.
And it wasn't a late hit. They said he went to the helmet. Let's see. Right there,
Yep.
the hands. Yep, good call by the officials. It wasn't malicious by Dillon. He's going in just to push him down, but you cannot go to the head of a defensive player.
So a big break for Oklahoma State. Gets the ball all the way out to the 35-yard line. Still plenty of time to go in the half. 6:15. Wide open down the sideline, Robinson to the 26-yard line of West Virginia. 40 yards. Garmin just laid it out there for Robinson, who's starting in place of the suspended Juwan Seals.
West Virginia deciding to go with an almost all-out blitz, so you get one-on-one to that side. Good throw by Garmin. The biggest mistake you can make as a young guy when someone's that open is to overthrow them. Garmin was not a perfect throw there, but the underthrow is much better than overthrow by 2 yards and it's incomplete.
Couple of yards for Desmond Rowland. Hill goes in motion. They fake it to him. Instead, throw it back the other way. And a great catch by Glidden. He beat Drayvon Henry over there. It's the second time they've worked the same pattern. They fake it to Hill, and that tends to draw people's attention because they don't want him to get the ball in the open field.
Well, let's see what happens to Glidden. Unfortunately, he's a guy you can see they're liking from that inside wide receiver position. Let's see how he goes down. Wonderful catch. Well, that Yeah, that left. I think when he landed on that left leg as he went to roll over, it looked like maybe, well, yeah, it looked like the left leg may have jammed in the ground as he rolled over.
Can't afford to lose Glidden. He's their leading receiver. Welcome back to Oklahoma State. Now the answer to today's Aflac trivia question, which is which 3 wide receivers have had at least 7 consecutive 100-yard receiving games since 2000. White was a gimme because he's in this game for West Virginia. What are the other 2 you like?
Justin Blackman from Oklahoma State and Michael Crabtree from Texas Tech.
Very nice. That
hey,
you are correct.
I figured there was some Oklahoma State, but there's even more time. All of these guys played under Dana Holgorsen.
Your new refrigerator will be in your rental car.
It's better be small. Better be one of those frat fridges.
No, it's a big one.
Well, this offense that Oklahoma State still runs has really had such a huge impact, not just on this conference, but nationwide.
Hill is the tailback. Inside the 10.
And Oklahoma State, with these struggles, with an offensive line that's still trying to gel, a quarterback who's still trying to figure out this level of ball, the red zone has been disastrous for Oklahoma State. They want to get some type of run game going, but this is somewhere where I think you got to start looking for guys like Brandon Shepard up top.
Kwiatkowski, the middle linebacker, the leading tackler, was in on that last stop. Hill on the swing. Had his legs cut out from him under a nice tackle by Ricky Rumpf, number 14.
But now you're in absolute what is typically a throw situation. 3rd and long, 3rd and 8. You can pick up the first down inside the 1, but this is where Oklahoma State has struggled. And luckily for them, David Glidden is coming back in the slot position here. He went down with that left leg injury, so let's see if they work that side of the field.
Garmin under pressure, and they got him. 3 Mountaineers were there. Brown was the first one that got him in his face and made him move. And then when Edward Muldrew came in.
And this is exactly what West Virginia was able to do in the red zone against Baylor last week. It was covered. Garmin looked exactly where we thought. He looked right over to Glidden, who was running a corner route trying to get into the end zone, and it was completely covered with pressure.
Ben Grogan will try from 36. He has already hit from 41. This would make it a 1-point game. And Grogan missed. So the spread still 4. West Virginia got the first 14 points. Oklahoma State has dominated the game since then. Celebrating its 10th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. Since 2005, Allstate has contributed more than $3.6 million in scholarship funds. So after the missed field goal, West Virginia takes over at its own 20, 3:28 to go in the first half. And they'll run it on first down with Smallwood. Has a hole across the 20, 25, 27, maybe the 28-yard line before he is stopped. And West Virginia gets the first down. They go on the hurry up.
Now both teams with all 3 timeouts. Clock starting to move a little bit, getting to that time where both sides need to start contemplating end of half and how to manage it.
Trickett throws underneath to Jordan Thompson, making his first catch of the day.
Let's just watch this. Let's watch the clock and the play clock. West Virginia not in a super hurry. They are huddling at the moment. Feels like you've got plenty of time, but sometimes these drives can start to get away with you a little bit, away from you, and all of a sudden you get behind the clock. But let's see, 3 timeouts. See how they manage this down the end.
White is at the top of your screen. He's got a corner out there on him, but one of the safeties shading that way. So they're doing a pretty good job of double covering him. Trickett directing traffic. Throws for White. Got a fingertip on it, and that's all.
Trickett's going to want that throw back. White made an unbelievable move on Kevin Peterson once the plays broke down, and Trickett just rifled this instead of dropping it, putting a little touch. Not open. Good job. Good jump of the route, but that throw there, yeah, you got to drop that in. Trickett wants that throw back.
That was pretty, wasn't it?
It really was. This guy, you mentioned he'd never been the go-to guy until this year. He's really stepped it up. To me, top of the screen is the matchup here.
Smallwood on the ground instead, broke a couple of tackles. Smallwood across midfield. Well, that's a powerful run for a kid who's 5'11", 200. Seth Jacobs just got blown up.
Smallwood was out earlier in the year, or excuse me, earlier in the game. Looked like he got banged in the head. Well, that's a penalty there by number 65, Tyler Orlowski, who grabbed the runner around the waist and pulled him, but that's often missed. You're allowed to push the runner. That just changed in 2014, but you can't pull him.
Smallwood again. Stopped shy of the 45-yard line. Smallwood 11 carries, 77 yards on the day.
And here goes that clock. It feels like you've got forever if you're West Virginia, but this gets a little sneaky. Is that?
Well, forever's getting a little shorter. Forever's not nearly as long as you thought it was going to be. Now 135 and counting for Trickett. Another run, this time to Dustin Garrison. West Virginia's playing this almost like they're trying to run out the clock.
That's what I was just going to say. With the 3 timeouts, you do have the huge luxury of those 3 timeouts. So if you get in a situation, you can use a couple. But you'd think they'd start to hurry up just a little bit. I mean, they're going to be well inside of 20, maybe 15 before this is snapped, and now getting close to a minute.
Blitz coming on Trickett, hangs in there and throws incomplete. Tried to hit the post to DeKeel Shorts, but he was perfectly covered by Trey Flowers. This is a dinged up secondary.
West Virginia offensively has just fallen apart since the first 2 or 3 drives. This is a drive that started promisingly, and all of a sudden Trickett is just, he can be off by a foot or two. He's a good quarterback, but he'll miss. That was just a miss. Good coverage, though, by Oklahoma State.
And also, there appears to be a gritty determination by West Virginia to run the ball no matter what. Let's check in with Reese.
Mike, the Lexus halftime report is not too far away. The Big 12 taking center stage in the afternoon. TCU and Texas Tech in a wild offensive battle. Amir Abdullah put on a show for Nebraska in the Big 10. And the SEC After Dark will look ahead to the night games and also keep an eye on #1 Mississippi State, struggling a bit with Kentucky. We'll see you in just a little bit.
Thank you, Reese. We'll look forward to that. And Oklahoma State, with 50 seconds on the first half clock, takes over at its own 10. You don't expect much here, do you?
No. But if I were West Virginia, I would maybe consider trying to get Mike Gundy to have to punt this thing, if they can. Use
your timeouts. Hill shakes one tackler.
It just helped.
Sure did. You can say one of those timeouts because he stepped out of bounds at the 11-yard line. Make it the 12.
And this is a young player, even though he's a junior college player who just transferred in this year. But that is one where you would want your running back to stay in bounds. You do not want to have to punt this. You obviously don't want to give West Virginia the ball back with decent field position at any time on the clock, given some of the receivers they have.
2nd and 8. Hill again. Drags a tackler with him to the 15-yard line.
Well, why wouldn't you take the timeout if you're West Virginia?
I don't understand.
Here? Yeah,
now they do.
Well,
geez,
they let about four seconds go off the clock there. They got it.
This is the first timeout of the first half called by West Virginia. Please reset the game clock to 33 seconds. The timeout will be for 30 seconds.
Now let's take a look at this week's rankings, brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. 2 Mississippi schools in the top 3, sandwiching Florida State. Ole Miss will play at LSU tonight. You can see that on ESPN. Look at the SEC West dominance. That's remarkable.
The team that's not in there that had another big win today was Kansas State, though. And if you look at Kansas State, to me in the Big 12, if Kansas State can win out down the stretch, I think they're going to jump right into that and be into the college football playoff. And, of course, TCU sitting there. But remember, Tuesday night, the first night that the College Football Committee comes out with their top 25.
Can't wait.
The AP will step aside for the committee's top 25.
And how different it is, how different their rankings are from the AP and the coaches poll will be something I'll be fascinated to see if they are using the same viewpoint as those two polls have all year long. And there are some differences in those two.
Absolutely. As the committee from starting this Monday and Tuesday, every committee member will go to Dallas, Texas, and they'll work on Monday and Tuesday studying film and talking about all of the teams. They will rank a top 25, and then, of course, they will, at the end of the season, not only put the top 4 teams into the playoffs, but they will seed them as well, and then they will work on the non-semifinal bowls this year, the Power 5 conference, and then they'll go to a group of 5 champion, the highest-ranked team, to fill out those bowls as well.
Archie Manning no longer on that committee. He had knee replacement surgery and complications from it, so he is bowed out. Well, our best to Archie. Hope he recovers completely and quickly. One of the best guys around. Big third down here. They needed to reach the 20 for the first down, and they're going to be short. Grayvon Henry made the tackle. West Virginia uses its second timeout to stop the clock with 28 seconds left.
And let's see what happens with that 28 seconds, because remember that timeout.
This is the second timeout of the first half called by West Virginia, 30 seconds.
The first timeout that they took, it looked like it took them about 3 seconds to really get it called. So that is 3 seconds is, of course, 1 snap of the football. So you might be 1 play short when you get the ball back here if you're West Virginia.
Thinking ahead, they have an outstanding field goal kicker in Josh Lambert, who's won a couple of games already this year with last-second heroics, and 3 in his career. He has made a 55-yarder that tied the school record.
And that extra timeout there for West Virginia, because the young running back Hill went out of bounds. So you will have a timeout maybe to get Lambert out there after a play, but you also get to control the clock a little more. And when we were talking to Dana Holgorsen, he said this guy is actually better when there's pressure on him.
Jalen Myers is deep. He waits at his own 35. Let's see if West Virginia tries to apply some pressure on Kip Smith. No, they don't. They fall back for the return. Low line drive kick. And it skips past Jalen Myers. Now he's going to say the sun was in his eyes, but unfortunately with the ball is bouncing at your ankles, that doesn't work.
Well, but he lost it completely. And I know Holgorsen is mad, but this is one of the few fields that goes east and west, so the sun is always going to be facing that way, and I don't blame the young man. He could not find the ball at all, and as that sun goes across the sky, it goes from left to right. So if your back is to our right, the sun's always going to be in your eyes in the afternoon.
And by the time he saw the ball, it was right on top of him, and he couldn't do anything with it.
And Holgorsen is just losing his mind. They've had a tough time on special teams, but that time you just can't blame the young man for not fielding it. However, a flat kick with a timeout and that time left, that's a missed opportunity for the Mountaineers, no doubt.
Sure is. A tale of 2 games in the first half. West Virginia came out, scored 14 points, but it's now 14-10. Let's go to Quint.
Coach, you led 14-0. You had a lot of initial success. What has changed since then offensively?
Well, they coach them up over there on defense as well. You know, they got good players, and this is a great atmosphere. Yeah, the game kind of settled in, you know, and they started playing like they normally do. We got to run the ball a little bit better. Probably the biggest difference.
Is the heat and sun an issue in this ball game, Coach?
Well, if it is for them too. You know, so we got to ignore all that and just get out and play.
Thank you, Coach.
At the half, our score: West Virginia 14, Oklahoma State 10. Now we'll send you to Reese Davis for the Lexus halftime report. Welcome back to college football on ESPN, presented by Cars.com. I'm in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where the Cowboys have made a comeback to turn this into a 14-10 game after being down 14-0 and looking for all the world like they were going to get blown out of their own stadium. Story of two entirely different football games. What happened?
When we started the game, it looked like with Clint Trickett and the way he was throwing, it looked like they were going to blow Oklahoma State out. And that's exactly what we got when we started. Of course, when you have guys like Kevin White and Mario Alford on the outside, this is the way West Virginia's been getting it done offensively. They're a run-based offense like we talked about, but White, of course, one of the best receivers in the country. And then Trickett off the play fake once again gets a long throwing touchdown. But Dax Garman, who has struggled since taking over for J.W. Walsh after he was injured in the second game, got things going. Teddy Johnson, the fullback, gets involved, and all of a sudden, we've got a ball game. Let's see if Clint Trickett comes out throwing the ball like he did in that first quarter.
Alford is deep with Gibson for West Virginia as the Mountaineers will get the ball to start the second half. Alford third in the country in kick returns, but he has been shut down in this one. Takes it 5 yards deep. Will take a knee. Let's check in with Quint.
Picking up the blitz, and that's what Mike Gundy really referred to. The change in this game, down 14-0. The Oklahoma State Cowboys have picked up the tempo on offense. It's all about the offensive line communicating. Happy with the way his slot receivers have alerted the guys inside when the cornerback pressure comes. He got a real feel for how West Virginia wants to pressure his quarterback. He says picking up the blitz is going to be the key in this second half, and an effective mix of run and pass to keep West Virginia off balance.
All right, Quint, the Mountaineers were off balance almost all of the second quarter. Trickett back to throw over the middle. Alford was double covered and the pass was incomplete.
Seth Jacobs does a nice job backing out, number 10, and got his hand on that ball. Good read on the quarterback. And a little tighter coverage that time by Ramon Richards. We saw Richards, number 18, struggle earlier in the game. We mentioned that Jawan Alfray, a backup corner, has been suspended. The report is he's actually been thrown off the team, and Ashton Lampkin not able to play, so light on corners.
Smallwood, huge hole up the middle. 45-49 yard line. 24 yards on the ground for Wendell Smallwood. And again, Cody Clay.
Ramon Richards comes in, and watch the safety leave the middle of the field to cover for him. Well, when the running back goes to cut up the middle, the safety had to go cover, getting over there late. Jordan Stearns makes the tackle, but out of position because he was covering for the blitzing corner.
Big game for Smallwood, 12 carries, 102, and Cody Clay has really thrown some tough blocks as that H-back fullback man. Flag down here in the area where it's normally holding.
Yeah, I think they're going to get Tyler Orlowski, who's working on Ofa Hautau, who's having a just tremendous year as a senior for Oklahoma State.
Number 65 of the offense. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
So that'll back him up and make it 1st and 20.
Orlowski working over here with his left guard. Quentin Spain gets over there, and Hautau just gets a little too low for him. Yeah, I don't know if that's holding. Ex-offensive lineman, I'm saying probably not, but I see where they called it.
Trickett fakes one way, goes back the other to White. Only his 3rd catch of the day for the man who is number 2 in college football, 9.9 yards or 9.9 catches per ball game.
Not sure that was holding, but give Hautau a bunch of credit for good technique coming off the ball low, and now you put West Virginia right way behind the sticks. And Mike Gundy, you mentioned in the first half, he said, our defense hasn't played that bad. They've just been left out there by an ineffective offense.
Trickett with time over the middle, complete to Thompson, and Thompson back to the Oklahoma State 48-yard line.
Nice job by this West Virginia offensive line. That play took forever to develop. Thompson was about the 4th receiver that Trickett looked at. Good management. When the pocket's there, stay in it. And you better know where Kevin White is on this play.
He's to the near side. Guarded by Peterson. It's 3rd and 4. 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 3rd and Good protection for Trickett over the middle, and a tough catch in traffic by Thompson. It's enough for a first down near the 40. Good throw, good grab.
And a good pre-snap read. You have to think that something was called for White, but White had press coverage on him, so you come back to the other side, and there's Thompson twice in a row coming open late.
They're going to make sure they have double coverage on him as much as possible. Thompson, with White being used as a blocker this time, will pick up about 5 before Jordan Stearns, the safety, makes the stop. And West Virginia going fast.
And now West Virginia throwing the ball a little more than we saw in that second quarter. They really like to run, but opening it up now.
Trickett goes back to Bowie out of the backfield. A safety valve. He's down to the 33. Peterson came up to make the stop.
Kevin White lucky on this last play, blocking downfield. That left leg gets caught up under Thompson and Stearns. The safety, luckily he was light on his feet. If he had weight on that inside left leg, could have been an injury.
Garrison, nice cut. Garrison with a first down to the 27.
Well, and if you're just joining us, Russell Scholl, the leading rusher, out with an ankle injury suffered against Baylor, so getting down into depth a little bit for West Virginia to running back spot.
They've played 4 guys at tailback in this game. And that's Dustin Garrison, who was the 4th to enter the ball game. Furman did a nice job out in the flat to make the tackle.
This just feels like a whole different wide open attack here on this drive than it did the entire kind of back half of the first half. They're making Oklahoma State run side. Those little swing passes that gain a yard or 2 or 3. Do you know how much the defense has to run? All 11 guys to get out there. So even though you gain a little bit of yardage, you're just taking a lot of energy out of the defense, especially the bigger people.
Smallwood picking his way through the defense inside the 20. Need to reach the 17 to keep the drive going.
Trickett was super hot to start the first half and doing the same here in the second. This a little different, though. Not as many vertical throws. A lot working the swing pass, working some of the receivers away from the line of scrimmage.
Dr. James Andrews totally rebuilt his shoulder during the offseason as Smallwood can't even get back to the line of scrimmage because of James Castleman, who led the charge. But Trickett did not have much arm strength all of last year. He was taking pain-killing shots just to play. He has a much stronger arm this year. Was able to lift for the first time in a year.
What an excellent job by James Castleman. The center Orlowski comes over there and he keeps going behind him. But Castleman, a guy who's having a couple of really big games.
Lambert, 16 out of 21 this year. 2 game winners, will come on to try a 39-yarder. And he started early, had to hesitate, and still knocked it through.
And the coaches from Oklahoma State are livid, and they should be. This should be an illegal procedure penalty against Lambert. And they should be backing West Virginia up 5 yards. And you can see the referee right up here at the top. Can't make a step towards the line of scrimmage without resetting for a full count. So West Virginia
caught a break there. And what a job to make that field goal. West Virginia up by a touchdown, and Josh Lambert just showed you how good a kicker he really is. His timing and distance were all messed up because he got the head start. We've already acknowledged that should have been a penalty. But how about this just for the athleticism to be able to do this?
And Dana Holgerson says Lambert is better under pressure. So you got to think in that moment he's thinking, wait, are they going to call the penalty first? And then second, oh, yeah, I better kick this thing. Nice job, Josh. Way to finish the play. It's not your job to call the penalty. It's your job to kick the kicks.
That's exactly right. Shepard and Rowland are deep. No Tyreek Hill, and Lambert says doesn't matter who's back. He kicks it out of the end zone again. J.T. Barrett leads number 13 Ohio State in a Big Ten battle with Penn State on Saturday Night Football. It'll be a whiteout in Happy Valley tonight at 8 Eastern on ABC.
Well, Ohio State plays Penn State this week and then Michigan State next week. So I think you will start to see very clearly what's going to happen for Ohio State in that Eastern Division of the Big Ten. Still a little shocked that Michigan State, Ohio State, and Penn State ended up in the same division in that conference. Seems a little heavy to the East.
Yeah, good luck to everybody else in there.
Yeah.
That pattern has worked most of the day. Washington with a good catch as Garmin just drilled it.
And Washington, a true freshman who's stepping in for Jawan Seals, suspended for being cited for public intoxication after last week's game. But Washington having himself a nice ball game in Seals' position.
He's from a very small town in Texas. Not only was a high school basketball star as well as football, but he was a high school tennis star. You don't see that combination very often. Garmin again goes outside to Shepard. The rhythm to their passing game is there.
When Garmin is comfortable and gets rid of the ball, he really does throw the ball well, throws it with velocity. Still like a lot of young quarterbacks working on the accuracy and touch, but when he gets his feet set and throws it, he can really spin the ball.
West Virginia showing a six-man rush. They come with it. The pass underneath. That probably should have been caught by Shepard.
I'm not so sure Shepard. Garmin did a nice job recognizing the blitz and threw this out. I'm not so sure that Shepard got his eyes around in time, because this looked like something that Shepard should have been able to catch. Garmin seemed to see the pressure properly and throw it on the right time, and Shepard missed it.
Desmond Rowland is the running back. Garmin. He'll try to run. And Garmin at the 42. Crowd calling for a flag, but he did not slide feet first, so he is just another runner.
Well, he's certainly a defenseless player. No, there's no penalty there. At the end of the play, that's the linebacker, Nick Kwiatkowski, coming in, but he didn't leave his feet. He didn't launch into him, so there is no targeting. Went with the shoulder and actually was starting to pull back, so I think that's a good no call.
Big play here, 3rd and 4 in West Virginia territory. Rowland hit at the line, falls forward, got maybe one, and that's it. But what do you do here?
Well, it looks like they're sending the punt unit out, and I don't blame, you know, if you get, well, I think you maybe punted on 4th. It's unbelievable that this game, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, you would think would be about 35-30 right now.
Exactly.
And here we sit at 17-10, two offenses struggling, and on 4th and 5 on the 45, a punt from Oklahoma State is the right play here, I think. That's kind of odd.
Kip Smith to punt. No rush. Thompson, the deep man, lets it go, and the ball will be downed inside the 1. "43 yards on the punt."
And Kevin Peterson, the starting cornerback, the best cornerback that Oklahoma State has, is on the punt team. Does a great job of playing the ball.
ESPN College Football is brought to you by Cadillac and Victorinox Swiss Army watches and the new Enox, forged to resist.
Streets around campus for homecoming closed last night for the walk-around. It's one of Oklahoma State's most popular homecoming attractions. Fans walk around to view the elaborate Greek house decorations. So instead of having floats that move and the people standing still, you have decorations that are fixed and the people move.
I think the Rose Parade should try that.
That'd be tough.
Yeah, it would be, with probably 500,000 people there needing to see the floats.
Kevin White, maybe the best receiver in the country, has been held to 27 yards, well below his seasonal game average.
And you got to figure from the 1. Here is White up here all by himself, but you're always going to see someone cheating over there for a
no kidding. Triggen will give to Smallwood. He was one step away from a big big run taken down at the 4 by Jordan Stearns.
Stearns, a young man who had a tough game last week against TCU. Just starting to get just a sophomore, very young in the secondary for Glenn Spencer, the defensive coordinator in the second year, calling defenses for Oklahoma State. A lot of youth.
Smallwood again, and off the corner. Stearns was right there. Oklahoma State playing run all the way.
Same position Stearns was in before, because West Virginia has all of their people up at the line of scrimmage. Now this is one where if you were ever going to throw one to Kevin White, this would be the one to look at.
Smallwood, the tailback, from just inside the 5 in a conservative series of calls, and Smallwood breaks it out for a first down. They tried to run to the right twice. They go back to the left, and they get the yardage they need.
Once again, it is all about the fullback blocking here for West Virginia, this spread offense.
They've had both Cody Clay and Garrett Hope back there. Both have done a good job. Out of the eye again. Smallwood has been a real workhorse. Gets up near the 15-yard line. 18 carries, 119 yards for the sophomore tailback.
Really is amazing that this is what West Virginia has kind of become, is a bit of a run-based offense this year. That's 4 times this season. Dana Holgorsen, who calls most of his own plays, has called 50 run plays in a ballgame. He had never done that in the previous 3 years at the helm at West Virginia.
And even so, Trickett is averaging 3rd best in the nation in pass yardage. He's thrown for over 2,500 yards coming into this game. Under pressure here. They got him. He got rid of it, but threw it to an offensive lineman. That is a forward pass. Going to be an incomplete pass, but it should be either intentional grounding or illegal touching.
Yeah, I think the flag is going to come out.
Billy Leveni was putting the pressure on. The officials talking it over. Looked pretty clear cut. It was nothing but offensive linemen out there.
Yeah, and then the referee throws the flag. Good job by the officials. Come together and talk about what you have. Big penalty here, because instead of 3rd and 9, now you're going to get 3rd and about, let's call it 18.
Intentional grounding. Loss of down. Number 9 of the defense. The ball offense. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. 3rd down.
Excellent coverage by Oklahoma State, forcing Trickett to move around in the pocket. That's 95. Leveni comes in to bring him down and then throws the ball to his offensive lineman, Pankey. So instead of 3rd and 9, out at about the 16-yard line, now West Virginia at its own 5.
3rd and 18. Nice conservative delay to Dreamus Smith, and Dreamus Smith fighting for extra yardage, and he has a first down. What a run by Smith.
West Virginia wanting to go fast. You can see Holgorsen calling a quick play here because they have Oklahoma State on their heels. But Dreamus Smith, the guy who played great last week, getting some extra run today.
Bowie. Well, they just have a stable of backs we haven't even seen. Their leading rusher, Russell Shell, the transfer from Pitt, because he's on the sideline with an ankle injury.
And what an unbelievable 3rd down conversion. 3rd and 18, and it's a run play that picks it up for you. With, what, your 3rd string running back?
Yeah.
And that's, you know, things were looking awfully shaky last year here for West Virginia and Dana Holgorsen. It's starting to look a little different with some of the talent, especially the depth at a few of the positions, including wide receiver and running back.
Got to give that offensive line some credit, too, for digging itself out of a hole. Quickly out to Alford. Alford up to the 44-yard line. You brought up the point earlier that West Virginia had run the ball 50 times against Baylor. And, of course, all you see when you watch a spread is all the passing and the yards they rack up and the touchdowns. You sort of tend to gloss over the running game, but 50 carries is 50 carries.
Well, when you have a guy like Kevin White, and you're starting to see Alford, the other outside receiver. They play outside receivers and inside receivers in this offense, but with Alford and White, if you can run and those safeties have to come down, that's why you get the big yardage chunk plays in the pass game they've gotten.
Now Oklahoma State adjusts its defense. Ramon Richards came in and faked a blitz look off the corner. West Virginia changes the play. And now Trickett's going to have to use a timeout.
This is the first time.
3:43 to go, third quarter in a one-touchdown game.
Timeout on the field.
A journey to the next great championship in sports. ESPN, home of the new college football playoff. New Year's will never be the same.
Rebels of Ole Miss certainly a big part of that discussion. They'll take on number 24 LSU under the lights on ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton Hotels, tonight at 7:15 Eastern on ESPN, and watch ESPN.
Oklahoma State fans know that Les Miles knows a thing or two about getting teams ready for big games. Les was very good in the cross-state rivalry against Oklahoma while he was the head coach here, so I would expect to have those Tigers ready to go.
The hat's been pretty good wherever he's coached.
Yeah. Does it his own way, doesn't
he?
Yes,
sir. Bowie runs into one of his guards and picks up a couple. Ryan Simmons made the tackle, the middle linebacker for Oklahoma State.
You know, Dana Holgorsen only spent one season here at Oklahoma State as the offensive coordinator. Mike Gundy hired him in 2010, and then, of course, Holgorsen left to become the offensive coordinator and head coach in waiting behind Bill Stewart at West Virginia. But this offense that they're running now is, I think, so much different than even when he was here, with how much they just try to pound the ball. It's really interesting to watch how much they've gone to that.
They threw so much at Texas Tech, Houston, and Oklahoma State, all with great success. Third and long, blitz coming. Trickett over the middle. He's got the first down to Alford. He gave up about a yard that he had trying to cut back. He still may have the first down, but it's close, and he got a good spot.
I think they'll take the Trickett instead of the treat right now. Wait till Thanksgiving, but that was a really nice throw by Trickett. You mentioned that shoulder surgery he had during the offseason. Here was a guy who got here, transfer from Florida State. Dana Holgorsen said it took him a while just to know the wide receivers' names. So he goes in the offseason, has his shoulder repaired. Then he has a winter and spring practice all through summer, all through fall. And Holgorsen not happy about something going on in his headsets there, but this guy's just playing so much different. Trickett.
Smith lowers his shoulder and rumbles down to the 41. He also has celiac disease, which made it very difficult for him to gain any weight. He's on a special diet. So there have been a couple of strikes against him, and he's overcome everything.
Great leader. Everybody on the team rallies around him. He's a very tough guy. That is so important. When you have a senior quarterback who's not only good, but tough and a leader.
Here's a screen. Not very well set up. And Smith only gets back to the 41-yard line.
What a catch by Smith in traffic, and then to make people miss and make that a positive yardage play. That was pretty special athleticism there by number 2. And make
another
yourself
big third down here, Ed.
And that was would have been a 3rd and about 10 had Smith not been able to catch that and get it there. And you're in the area where you would think about it on 4th down here, but I think you want this first, so something beyond the sticks.
This is the 14th play of this drive. End around. What a catch by Alford just to come up with the ball, but there's nowhere to go. Not a good toss by Trickett, and Alford had to make a one-handed stab at it.
Just a call that you'd want back. Just way too much ball handling. You've got a quarterback, a senior, who's throwing the ball well, and you're going to toss it around and fake a handoff. The timing is terrible. The pitch was bad. That's a play. Why are you calling that? Just let your senior quarterback, who's been throwing it well here,
O'Toole got it out there as a flag down. This could be roughing the kicker.
I think this is going to be running into. I believe this is going to be a 5-yard penalty.
The 5-yard version would not hurt Oklahoma State.
Well, although it would make, if I am Dana Holgorsen, I would think about going for it here, though, because you end up at about 4th and 5 on the 40. I think this becomes more of a decision.
Running into the kicker, the foul will be declined. Result of the play stands, first down.
Obviously,
I'm surprised they didn't punt it again, actually, because the ball's outside the 16-yard line.
And there's the running into. Well called there. It was more of a bump than a run into. Lacey got in. That
drive went 7 minutes and 8 seconds, but only gained 53 yards in 14 plays.
And that last play call, just with a senior quarterback and the way he's been throwing it, I'm not sure why you got to toss that ball around. If anything, Alford, the guy that they pitched it to, just let him run a route. He seemed to be pretty uncoverable at times today.
So Oklahoma State remains 1 play away from tying up this ball game. And they'll give it to Desmond Rowland. By the way, Tyreek Hill, who was not in on that last kickoff return, and we wondered why. We haven't been able to get any information on him, but he is back. He came out of the locker room about 8 minutes into the quarter and has been stretching quite a bit.
And he is a guy with world-class speed, and we mean that literally. He ran the fastest time ever in the 200 meters in high school. And obviously a guy that makes a big difference both in the backfield and out of the backfield for Oklahoma State.
Rowland. West Virginia drags him down short of the 20. Kwiatkowski, the middle linebacker, was in on the stop. That's the end of the third quarter in a surprisingly low-scoring game at 17-10 West Virginia.
Guys.
Reese, can you believe that? That's amazing.
Yeah, Mark Stoops has done a terrific job. Remember, that's an Ohio family, the Stoops family. They have been getting a lot of people to come down to Kentucky from that Ohio area.
Garmin deep post overthrown, nearly picked. Carl Joseph diving for it. Excuse me, Draymond Henry diving for it. Let's go to Quint.
Guys, Tyreek Hill, the kind of home run hitter for Oklahoma State, did not play that entire series. He was laid out of the locker room after halftime, working on his right hamstring. It appears that he's suffering from heat symptoms, cramping of that right hamstring.
All right, Quint, thanks very much. And Oklahoma State has had 8 third down opportunities in this game. They have failed on all of them. With a line drive kick. Bobbled and recovered. The Mountaineers, Jordan Thompson back there, have just had so many problems on punt returns and special teams overall.
Of course, we mentioned earlier that this field runs in a direction where the sun will always be in the eyes of people to the right during the afternoon, and that is the second time that we've seen a punt be affected. There's a flag back at the Oklahoma State 40. That's the second punt. Remember, at the end of the half, when West Virginia worked the clock perfectly, they got a flat punt, couldn't control it, went all the way down inside their 20, so they had no choice but to run out.
An extended discussion here by this officiating crew over what may or may not have happened. You go to the West Virginia sideline either to offer alternatives or make an explanation. This is Thompson retreating with the sun in his eyes, and then as he turned, he probably got a better look at the ball, but he lost it.
Team. Holding on the receiving team, number 14. Personal foul, grabbing the face mask on the kicking team, number 28. Fouls will offset, replay 4th down.
So let's see if they send Thompson back again. He'll get to look up into that sun.
It has been dial 'em up in punt return for West Virginia. Not just a lack of return, but also the turnovers that they've had at this position. So, wow, brand new returner coming out, and they're just, it's They're having auditions right in front of our eyes for their punt returner.
Vernon Davis.
And, of course, he's got that sun in his face. And for Vernon, it's a tough spot to come out, isn't it?
It's almost like drawing the short straw, isn't it? You get to go back. Low end-over-end kick. Takes a good bounce for Oklahoma State, and Davis barely got out of the way or roll all the way to the 30-yard line. So a couple of poor punts, but no damage. On Monday Night Football, Deshaun Jackson leads the Redskins into Dallas against Tony Romo and the NFC East leading Cowboys at 8:15 Eastern on ESPN, and watch ESPN. No other night is Monday night, and no other matchup is like the Cowboys and the Redskins. Even now.
I was unfortunate enough to play for the Arizona Cardinals when they were in the NFC East, and we didn't fare so well.
I was going to say, how'd that work out for you?
Not so hot. Times have changed for the Cards.
Yes, they have. Trickett gives it off to Wendell Smallwood. He's had a big game here.
This game feels like it's a Big 8 conference game rather than a Big 12 conference game. To me, this is the league that I think you could argue made the spread offense spread faster around college football because of places like Texas Tech and frankly here Oklahoma State. But this game feels old school.
Jordan Stearns, by the way, we got burned 3 times last week. Big game today. 17 tackles. Trickett short set over the middle, complete. Thompson has it out across the 45-yard line.
You know, if you're Dana Holgorsen, you're just in the weirdest spot calling plays right now because clearly the throw game is where it's at. You know that Trickett's on, he feels good today, but the problem is you're up 7. You're playing a team in Oklahoma State who has really struggled on offense all year, so you want to call the pass, but at the same time, you'd really like to see this fourth quarter, that clock keep running with your run game.
Trickett, 20 out of 26, 233 yards. Fakes the run. Over the middle, incomplete.
Oh, boy.
There's a flag on this one, and I think they're going to get it. K.J. Myers looked like he drew contact from Trey Flowers about a step too early.
Flowers knew right away. That's not a bad call, actually, young man. That was a good call. It just came late, so everyone decided they want to boo it, but it certainly looked like Flowers got there. There's a term in officiating called bang bang. If the ball and the player get there about the same time, they call it bang bang. You're not supposed to call it. That one was bang bang. That one you're supposed to call.
Well, in the kid's defense in the stands, he didn't have a sign that said that was a late call.
Pass interference, number 31 of the defense. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
Crowd doesn't like it, but it looked like a good call.
Yeah. And Flowers did whenever you see a guy throw up his hands like I didn't do it, guess what he did?
He did it.
He did it, yeah.
That puts it at the 37-yard line and very, very close to the range for the Mountaineer field goal unit with Josh Lambert. That could make it a 2-score game, so Oklahoma's defense has got to stand tall here. Smith off the right side, pushed back to charge, led by Ryan Simmons. I've been very happy with him in the middle. That's his natural position. He played outside linebacker a year ago.
And Lambert obviously key here in a game that has not been as high scoring as you think. If West Virginia gets inside the 30-yard line, you're certainly in Josh Lambert territory, which makes it a 2-score game. And you've got to feel pretty good if you're West Virginia. 2 scores. The way you've been able to run the ball as the fourth quarter goes down, you got to think that Oklahoma State front's going to continue to tuck her out.
2nd and 10. Trickett quickly out to Alford. Down to the 32-yard line. His 7th catch of the day, as they have made sure to double cover Kevin White just about every time he's out there.
Watch the block by Jordan Thompson. Just came in and absolutely blew up Ramon Richards.
If that short passing game is going to be successful, that's what you have to have from the other wide receivers. That's why coaches love guys who are 6'1", 215.
Look at all of the room here in this slot receiver. Now you start to get coverage walking out there.
Smallwood. An offensive line opens another hole for him, and it looks like with that mark, he's going to have a first down.
Unbelievable for this offense, but they have run 30 plays. You think about 8 plays for offense for Oklahoma State, and that is what Mike Gundy has said about this defense. He said, I like this defense. I think we're getting better. We just leave them out there forever. We don't have the offense we're used to, and we have a good defensive front, getting a little better in the secondary as the season goes on, but they just get worn out.
Glenn Spencer lost most of his starters and most of his key backups. It's been mix and match all year long. And movement on the West Virginia offensive line, the left tackle Adam Pankey.
False start, 57 of the offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Pankey, he's got tough duty out there because the cornerback to his side has been blitzing a lot, and you can see everyone pointing for when that cornerback's going to come. So he starts thinking, well, I better back up because we know that this guy's coming off the edge, and as he starts to back up, all of that weight makes him start to step back too soon.
1st and 15. Garrison checks in. Hard run. Garrison all the way down to the 26-yard line. They need to reach the 17 for a first down, and they are well within field goal range at this point.
Boy, this one is a sword into the gut of Oklahoma State's defense right now. They picked up a 3rd down on a 3rd and 4 running the ball just a couple of plays ago. They're starting to eat some clock here. There's just not much Glenn Spencer, the defensive coordinator, can do. Guys are just getting tired. You're not going to bring many blitzes here. You're playing well enough to make them earn it, so you're not going to get too risky. There's no reason to do that. There's just not much to do when your guys are getting this gassed on a hot day.
Trickett to throw. Has time. White just a little bit too high. Boy, he had him too.
White just mistimed his jump. This is the second throw we've seen from Trickett where you think if he gets just a touch more air, maybe it's a touchdown. And here we go on 3rd and 9. Trickett throws this ball just a little bit flat, and White seemed to miss time. Otherwise, boy, that's a catch you expect him to make.
He's got some hops, though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
3rd and 9. Could be the play of the game right here. Pressure coming. Trickett over the middle. Incomplete. Intended for Vernon Davis Jr., and he couldn't come up with it.
Stearns, who had just a tough ball game last week against TCU. You mentioned he has 17 tackles on the game. This was perfect safety play. Good job by the cornerback, and the safety just sitting right there. Almost makes the interception. What a big pick that would have been for Stearns, but what a different game this week for 13.
Now Lambert will try one from 43 yards. He's hit from 39 on that play where he stutter stepped into it. And Lambert is true again, and West Virginia goes up by 2 scores. Lambert has had a heck of a year as the Mountaineers field goal kicker, now 18 out of 23. Been quite a story for Arizona this year. West Virginia leading it here 20-10 over Oklahoma State. That missed Cowboy field goal starting to loom large, and Tyreek Hill is back on the field. He waits at the goal line. Oklahoma State now down 2 scores.
Nice to see Mel Gibson from Braveheart here.
Kick knocked in and through the end zone.
Well, it has not been pretty for Oklahoma State the last 4 times they've had the ball. Missed field goal, punt, and you get a feeling at this point in the 4th quarter, if this Oklahoma State offense can't get something going and punch it in, the ball game may be over. The defense has done an unbelievable job, frankly. Glenn Spencer's unit came in here and had a bit of a tough run, but a lot of youth, has been on the field too much. But the defense has given Oklahoma State a chance to win it. Let's see what the offense can do for Mike Gundy.
Dax Garman certainly having a better day than he did a week ago against TCU. 16 out of 27 for 202 yards. But he'll start in the 1st and 15 hole here after movement up front.
False start, 71 of the offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Brad Lundbraid, the backup center to Paul Lewis.
Lundbraid, a freshman, one of 21 freshmen who's played in the game. And as he bobbed up and down for the silent snap, they ruled it was too violent a movement, simulating a snap, so they called the penalty.
Quarterback going to scramble. Kwiatkowski will make the tackle on Garman. But his best run of the day, it looked like.
And West Virginia is playing way off now. Just completely different than they played in the first 3 quarters and against Baylor last week.
Garman pressured. Throws on the run, and they're saying that Glidden had it, and he did. Nice job by David Glidden to go to the ground and make that catch.
And Oklahoma State's going to go fast because they maybe don't want this reviewed. Can't tell from there if it hit the ground, but it looks like they're going to get the play off before they can review it.
Hill runs right into the nose man, Kyle Rose.
It looked like Glidden did have that catch. A good job by Oklahoma State going fast. And now you've got a little momentum here. You know, we haven't seen many deep throws here in the second half. I know Oklahoma State hasn't had many chances, but somewhere in here you may want to see Garman. He's got plenty of arm.
Blitz coming. Kwiatkowski puts pressure on. They tried to get it to Hill, but he was covered as well by Eric Kinsey.
And that was a nice job by Garman. Comes up a little gimpy, it looks like. But that was a nice job just to throw that thing away. 2nd and 9. If he takes this sack and tries to wait for the running back to get open on what was a called screen pass, you'd have a 3rd and about 17.
Pressure coming on Garman again, and there's that quick post or slant. Brandon Shepard makes the catch underneath, and it's a first down.
Nice throw that time by Garman. He does look like he's more calm. Nice route that time. The corner to that side. Ishmael Banks fell down. Good throw and catch.
Garman will go out in the flat, and a great defensive play. Austin Hayes blown up by Darrell Worley, who was such a talented player, and Worley's hurt again.
Well, Worley went in with his head down, and this is such a dangerous, looks like he's working that left arm, but let's watch Worley as he goes low to try. Good job defeating the block by Worley. Actually, you know what? He did a good job of turning his body. I thought he threw his head in there, but I'm not sure if he didn't land awkwardly on that left arm.
That's what he's flexing right now. We'll check on him when we come back.
ESPN College Football is presented by Cars.com. All dry, no drama.
Come to Stillwater and have a hankering for ribs. Bad Brad's Barbecue probably would be your destination. Stillwater favorite here. You know, come to think of it, we're always showing barbecue places. It's tough to find a bad barbecue place.
Well, for me, barbecue's like pizza.
Yeah.
Just bring it to me and it's going to be fun. Pistol Pete out there photobombing a selfie.
2nd and 10 here on a critical drive for the Cowboys. Hill can't use that speed to get outside. West Virginia's defense has been tough against the run.
You have to, in my opinion, and as Worley comes back for West Virginia, who injured his shoulder, you have got to think 4-down territory here, I think, if you're Oklahoma State. So I think a screen to a wide receiver, just an easy something, maybe even a run play, because I think you've got to think about some type of 4 downs here. I think you're running out of time if you're Oklahoma State.
Down 2 scores, and even if you assume you can shut out West Virginia from here on out, you may not get the ball back twice. Taking an awful lot of time here. Hill, room to run this time. Trying to get outside to turn the corner down to the West Virginia 37-yard line.
Oklahoma State is very lucky. They ran out of play clock. It went down to 0 right here. And Dana Holgorsen is very upset that they missed this. Now on this 3rd down, I think it's Hill again. I think you think about a delay. Excuse me, 4th down. I think you think about Hill here again potentially.
4th and 6. Trying to keep the drive alive. Blitz coming. Quarterback hit as he throws, and the ball floats harmlessly down the middle of the field. They brought pressure, and they got there enough to force Garmin's arm up.
Yeah, you just didn't, the call, your 3rd and medium there, you're going to get pressure on this side of the ball. They have not been able to pick it up. This felt to me like it could have been a screen or maybe even a draw to Hill. I'm not sure you can do this.
For Oklahoma, the Cowboys have turned it over on downs. Still behind by 10.
Stillwater is where the land run began. And of course, the team across down in Norman, the Sooners, got their nickname for the people that went for the land grab a little early than what the government said. So, but it's all started right here.
West Virginia would love to work on the clock, and they get Smallwood with the carry. And here's Reese Davis.
Mike, AT&T inside the headset takes you to Lexington, Kentucky, and Patrick Tolles, the Javis Blue, got the perfect matchup against Mississippi State's linebacker, and he goes to the house. And the #1 team in the country, as we go to the 4th quarter, only up 7 against Kentucky.
That's just hard to believe, isn't it?
Well, it's hard to be #1. How about that?
Well, that's true, too.
In a conference like that. Ask Oklahoma State. They've had their troubles.
Smallwood for about a yard, 22 carries, 131 yards on the ground. Stearns made another tackle. He's been in there on almost all of them.
That 3rd down, knowing that the clock is pinching, it seemed like it might be a little early for them to call it, but this is a big 3rd down, 3rd and medium. It's been a rundown for West Virginia today. Trickett now in the shotgun, but Oklahoma State having to spread out a bit because of the 4 wide receivers. Don't be surprised if West Virginia runs the ball here.
Send Smallwood in motion. Trickett looks toward White. Now he'll take off, gets past the sticks, and that's a 1st down. Big run by Clint Trickett.
And he comes up a little gimpy. Looks like he might be cramping a touch. So now West Virginia, even though they call the pass, 7 of 9 on 3rd down running it. But let's see Trickett there. Came up a little gimpy. The game, the day today, much hotter than you would expect at the end of October.
It's the hottest day on this date ever in Oklahoma City. Mountaineers are in Stillwater. Now a tight formation for West Virginia. They'll pick up a couple, and now they can really grind on that clock. And Oklahoma State will use its 2nd timeout.
Well,
you have to take the timeouts and hope. Try to force a turnover.
On 2nd down, though, I would think maybe you'd want that on 3rd down or before a 4th down punt. I understand you want to save some clock, but these last 2 timeouts seem like they weren't strategically perfectly used. The 3rd down maybe before, but here on 2nd down, I'm not sure you want to be burning one of your final timeouts, or what your 2nd timeout, I should say.
Kansas State, number 11 in the country, and at the top of the conference, 6-1 overall, undefeated in the conference, the only team that's undefeated. West Virginia would go to 4-1 today. Oklahoma State would fall to 3-2, leaving West Virginia, Baylor, and TCU as 1-loss teams.
West Virginia hosting TCU next week, so I don't have a lot to say.
They have already played Alabama, Oklahoma, and Baylor. That's pretty tough. Trickett again. This time he'll go down after burning some clock back at the 47-yard line. And Oklahoma State will use its last timeout.
The third and final timeout of the second half called by.
So they're trying to save as much time as possible here. You got to use them sometime. You might as well use them back to back.
Well, the thought being, and I'm not sure I like the second down one, but the thought being here, we need 2 scores, so we'll save as much time. Because when you're on offense, you do have more control of the clock. You can run out of bounds. First down stops the clock. An incomplete stops the clock. So the idea being, when we're on offense, we do have more control of the clock, so we'll use them while we're on defense. Just not sure about that second down timeout.
You need to make big plays here. Think about going for a punt block. Does that make any kind of sense since your offense hasn't done a lot?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go down to Quinn.
It's been really interesting to watch Dana Holgorsen in this third and fourth quarter, manage the lead and manage the clock. There have been times in his career where he's been criticized for staying with the up-tempo when the Mountaineers had a lead. Today it's been the exact opposite, and he's shown tremendous patience to stay with this run game and to work the clock deep into each play clock. Now, with Oklahoma State out of timeouts, do you think he's tempted to run the ball here and just get that clock tick-tacking towards triple zeros?
I would run it. I would not want an incomplete pass or an interception here.
Instead, they want to throw it and trick it too high. I think that's going to be an incomplete pass for Da'Keil Shorts. I think you really got to question that play call. You could have worked with, they're out of timeouts. You could have worked another 40 seconds off the clock.
You know, it was like before when they called the double reverse to Alford. When they're going down, they've got the foot on the gas and they go backwards instead of forwards. That, I'm with Quint on that one. That, to me, that feels like you should have run that one.
O'Toole to punt, no pressure. It's a floater. Hill has to chase it down. And good coverage by the Mountaineers special teams gets him inside the 20. Punt of 36 yards, no return. Justin Arndt, the first man down for West Virginia. And now only 5:40 to go for Oklahoma State. Still down 2 scores.
Hill, a guy who can move from the running back position out to wide receiver. Clearly the fastest player on the field, if not in college football. So let's see if they can get Hill out. You hear that term, the wheel route, which is the running back runs out to the flat and then cuts up the field, hopefully covered by a safety or a linebacker.
He would be the guy, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
3-man rush. Garmin over the middle, too high.
That time he was looking for James Washington, the true freshman who's starting and playing in front instead of Jawan Seals, who was suspended for today's ball game for breaking team rules.
So West Virginia now in their version of the prevent. And Garmin's going to try to run it with Hill.
And West Virginia is playing so it's funny to watch this defense after what I saw last week against Baylor the entire game, where maybe there was one guy deep and now nice throw by Garmin there.
Let's see, the official has not made a call on this yet. It looked like a simultaneous catch by 2 players. No signal. Mountaineers are saying they have the ball. The officials have not made a call.
Carl Joseph got in there and started pulling that ball out. Now, you know what? It looks to me like the receiver Glidden has his arm in between, but so does Joseph.
Tie goes to the runner.
There's a completed catch by the offense. This play is under review.
So if both players catch it, it goes to the offense, just like the tie goes to the runner in baseball. We'll check it out when we come back.
In the 4th.
All right, back here, Reese, we are still having this play reviewed. From the angles that we saw, it looked like a catch.
Joseph did a nice job of getting his arm in there, but Glidden seemed to have it against his hip.
Again, if it's a simultaneous catch, it goes to the offense. A pretty clear cut by rule. And Joseph only has one arm in there and then puts the other one in. I don't know how you could rule that anything else but a catch by the offense.
Well, the ball was moving just a touch as Glidden's knees went down.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Oklahoma State.
That's the right ruling. I mean, it was close. The other thing that they had to look at was the ball moving when Glidden's knees hit the ground, because then it would have been just an incomplete pass. But I think this is the right call. It looked like to me Glidden did have it. His knees were down. The ball was secured, and Joseph didn't get it. That was a lot to be reviewed. I think they got it right.
Clock is the big factor here, counting toward 5 minutes to play. Still 2 scores down. Garmin has a man wide open down the sideline and missed him. A blown coverage by Worley. And Washington was wide open.
And watch James Washington at the top of your screen stop. He looked back to the quarterback and stopped. Now, not a great throw by Garmin because it was a bit out of bounds, but Washington, when he got by Worley, he froze, didn't keep running his route.
Garmin steps up in a pocket and throws the post incomplete. A stride too far for Rashad Samples.
Don't forget J.W. Walsh, the starting quarterback at the beginning of the season in a neutral site game. The guy with the boot and the arms crossed is Walsh, who had foot surgery, but they took Florida State on a neutral field all the way to the mat with Walsh.
They did.
And unfortunately, because of Clint Chelf graduated from last year and Wes Lunt had already transferred to Illinois, they're down to Dax Garmin, who just doesn't quite have the athleticism of Walsh.
3rd and 10. Garmin overthrows, and it's picked off by Henry. Drayvon Henry down the sideline, 52 yards and a touchdown. The second pick of the day for the Mountaineer defense.
Is this the same Mountaineers that we saw last year?
No.
I mean, the difference between, let's be honest here, Dana Holgorsen, his job was in great jeopardy after that 4-8 season. All years as a head coach, the win total had been declining. They had some blowout losses, and here they get a huge win at home against Baylor, and the one thing they haven't been able to do is bounce back and play the next game well. And
That's
here they
right.
come in, and they haven't played great. They really haven't, but they're good enough to win now, and pretty good focus. And now, because of the struggles Oklahoma State has had offensively, this game getting a little bit out of hand, but still pretty closely competitive. What a difference for West Virginia last year.
And this will take the Mountaineers to 6-2, 4-1 in the Big 12. Only one game in the loss column behind the leader.
And this was just a missed throw by Garmin. He had Glidden exactly where he wanted him, just overthrew him.
And they're heading for the exits here on homecoming, now down 27-10. That's not many points for all the yards we've had, is it?
It's unbelievable.
This has been a very odd game for several reasons. But that was probably the easiest pick the freshman is going to get. And there are other homecoming festivities to be had.
And of course, a lot of people that are leaving have been wanting Mason Rudolph to play, the true freshman they're hoping to preserve a year of eligibility for. Highly ranked recruit out of South Carolina who came in. But I don't think that you should play a young man like that. Unless Garmin goes down, he's going to be out for the rest of the year. I don't think there's any reason that you take away a year of eligibility. A lot of people have been wanting it, but I think this is the right decision by Mike Gundy. Let's roll out this hand. It's not going to be the season we want, but why waste that year for Rudolph?
And with a rebuilt offensive line, it doesn't matter who's going to play quarterback. It's not going to be the season you wanted anyhow.
And that's what Mike Gundy's, there's been with social media now, everyone can
voice their opinion and do it loudly. So a lot of Oklahoma State fans have been saying, let's play the other guy at quarterback. Well, that's a normal mantra when things aren't going right. But you're exactly right, Mike. You take the guy's red shirt off and he goes to play an offense that it's not all Dax Garman's fault. There are a lot of issues that they knew were coming. This is not a surprise to Oklahoma State. They lost a bunch of starters from last year. They lost 33 of their top 44 players. There's 5 offensive linemen they expected to be playing right now that are not playing. Right. So you lose your starting quarterback, Walsh. Garman, not quite ready. Guy who hadn't played since 2009 in high school, but this is just the lumps they're going to take.
And Mike Gundy, people got to remember, he's taken them to 8 straight bowl games. One more, it would be a school record. It's going to be tough for them to win that extra game to qualify for a bowl this year. But he was the 2011 Coach of the Year when they went 12-1. He's won more than 2/3 of his games. So if he's making this decision to keep the red shirt on a quarterback, I'll go along with Mike Gundy.
Yeah.
Garman under pressure. The Mountaineers have him on the blitz.
And, you know, we'll go back now that the game seems to be kind of going the other way for Oklahoma State. You mentioned about Mike Gundy and his consistency and what he's done. There was a series of articles printed by Sports Illustrated that just eviscerated this program, from claims of paying players, academic misconduct, to just a litany of drug use problems. The university and the NCAA did an investigation on the entire 12 years that Sports Illustrated had made those claims. And this week, both the NCAA and the independent counsel hired by Oklahoma State came out and said that the facts were materially unfounded in the Sports Illustrated article. And it has been such a difficult time for everyone around this program, but they were completely vindicated this week by that report. Completely.
I'm glad you put it that way, because the phrase materially unfounded sounds a little bit too legalese for me, but vindicated is pretty good. Vindicated, everybody understands. And it had an impact on the West Virginia coaching staff as well, because Joe DeForest, who is now a West Virginia coach, was on the Oklahoma State staff, and he was among those who were accused. He was vindicated. Garman goes back to work, deep sideline, and again covered by West Virginia Ickey Banks, who was in there for the injured Darrell Chestnut, with excellent man-to-man coverage.
And you were just mentioning Joe DeForest. He was an assistant here under both Les Miles and Mike Gundy, and he was named as the guy who apparently would pay players for big hits and such. Well, the last year for this guy has just been awful. He had to hire his own attorney, all of the questions about his integrity. And on Tuesday, he got a text message that showed him what the NCAA and Oklahoma State and his new employer, West Virginia, had said, we're going to wait to see what the other guys say. And just an incredible veil has been lifted on so many people by a reporter and a report in Sports Illustrated that looks to be completely erroneous.
West Virginia takes over, and Dreamus Smith on first down goes 40 to add another 6 to West Virginia's side of the scoreboard. And now a flag down. That looks like an excessive celebration penalty coming. So good news all around for the coaches, is that investigation finds the series of articles wanting.
And, you know, I've covered Mike Gundy for years.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 57 of the scoring team. The touchdown counts. The penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
It's Adam Pankey, the left tackle, called for. Celebrating a little bit too much.
But I have covered Mike Gundy for years, and when I saw that article come out, something didn't jive.
Right.
This is a guy that you could say a lot of things about Mike Gundy, but he has been incredibly consistent with the way he's run his program, with discipline, how he's handled players, things off the field. And to read what was claimed in that article was shocking to me. And frankly, to read that it was unfounded by the NCAA and Oklahoma State was, I think, a relief for a lot of people because it was so confusing. If you'd spent time around Mike Gundy in this program before under Les Miles, there was no sign that it was not being managed properly and managed that way.
But what a shock coming from Sports Illustrated, a magazine that was an icon of sports journalism for decade after decade, that they have gotten this black eye.
And Gundy is a guy who is an easy target sometimes. Of course, you remember back the I'm 40, pick on me. Well, that was while he was defending a player based on a report that also had erroneous information in it. So, it's a guy who has stood up for his players and his program and done a great job. And he can't talk about it because it was an investigation. But you could sense the relief around this program, especially because Gundy was a guy who was a key assistant with Les Miles and started to build what they have here, was lucky enough, as he said, to get that coaching job. And then to have that come out just was devastating. But the way they've handled it internally, and you could say he's been looked at for 12 years. This is the cleanest coach in college football today after what was said on Tuesday. Nothing over a 12-year period.
Yeah, if they come in with all those investigators and spend all that much time and look at 12 years of your program and find a couple of really honestly nitpicky things to be upset about, you're in good shape. Molinari to kick it away, and Shepard will return for Oklahoma State. Up across the 40 to about the 43. Only 3:05 left. People will look at this final score and think it was not nearly as close as the game was.
Well, unfortunately for Oklahoma State, to get to bowl eligibility, they've got a pretty tough road. 3 games on the road against ranked opponents. And Texas, a team that you've got to figure that'll be about an even. No one's going to probably be heavily favored in that. So one more win, and you think how important that would be for Oklahoma State, not just to get to a bowl game, but it's like another spring practice with all of the freshmen and sophomores they have. That would be huge for them to get over that hump and get to a bowl game.
I mean, unless you're in the top 10, coaches always talk about the extra practices and how much it's going to help their ball club for the next year. It's almost like that's more important than going out and winning the bowl game. You practice a lot of young kids during that time.
That was when I was a freshman. My redshirt year, we went and played in a bowl game. I got to do live snaps for the first time since August, so that when I went into spring ball, I was competitor for a starting job. Wouldn't have had that without a bowl game.
4-man rush. Garmin unloads into coverage.
And then for West Virginia, you think about the start of this season. They went toe-to-toe with Alabama on a neutral field. They went toe-to-toe with number 4 Oklahoma. If they can win out, if they could have won one of those two, Alabama or Oklahoma, this is a team that you'd have to say would be in the argument for a playoff spot. They've got some tough ones coming, but you went against that schedule.
Well, the win over Baylor was an image changer because they had had so many difficulties with high-scoring teams, with spread teams. Their defense was just atrocious. But to be able to shut Baylor down and do it with the kind of pressure they had never shown before.
Yeah. And I think one of the assistant coaching changes or hires this offseason that needs to be talked about is Tony Gibson being elevated.
Absolutely.
To defensive coordinator at West Virginia.
He really likes the 3-3-5. When he was on the staff before, when Rich Rodriguez were there, they ran the 3-3-5, and that's the first thing he did when he became the defensive coordinator, was put that back in.
Former defensive back in college, and when they made the announcement, of course Keith Patterson left to go work at Arizona State, but when Dana Holgorsen made the announcement to the team that Tony Gibson was the new defensive coordinator, standing ovation by the players. He's a great recruiter in the Northeast. This was, you talk about coaching change. He was a guy who was on the staff elevated. That was a wonderful move by Holgorsen.
Check in with Quint.
Mike, and the thing you see down here from field level about Tony Gibson in this new West Virginia defense, they've developed a sense of identity a more attacking defense. They're not standing around and being passive. And I think it's just fit into a certain mindset of confidence right now. Guys are flying around, trying to make plays. It suits their personnel pretty well, the speed they have on defense, and it's just a complete overhaul mentally, I think, as well as strategically.
Quinn, I think you're absolutely right. If you are in an attacking defense, a group of guys that is going to come after the quarterback 3 out of 4 plays, it does change your attitude rather than being somebody who's laying back in a zone defense and just trying to prevent giving up the big play. You're trying to make plays, and it's 100 degrees different.
And it was last year, you mentioned against Baylor, they gave up 73. They were playing off. They were playing zone coverage. So this year against Baylor, they said, no, we're going to go play up in everybody's face. We're going to bring some pressure. And they really they made Bryce Petty really struggle with the long throw. He had no time. He was throwing off his back foot. And it was funny that Gibson said this week, the thing is now I got to get him back down to earth. They finally have some confidence. Got to get him back for this game.
Well, let's put it this way. You give up 63 points, then 73 points to the same team 2 years in a row. You might want to try something else.
Well, West Virginia's trying a lot of things different this year. 3 yards and a cloud of chewed up tire rubber was how they won it today.
And it's working. The Mountaineers now 6-2 after a 34-10 win here at homecoming at Oklahoma State. And let's go down to the field with Quint.
Coach, back-to-back weeks. How do you describe the effort of your defense?
Well, really good. I mean, they've been playing like that for about 4 games in a row now, you know. So really excited about how our defense played. But overall, great team win. You don't come into a place like this and get out of here with a victory, a 24-point victory, unless you play well on all 3 sides of the ball.
What's it like to be able to run the football the way you did today?
Makes it a lot easier to call plays. You know, I've been in such a pass-happy offense forever. It's just a little easier to be able to do that. That's the mindset that we have up front. Everything starts up front. Got some good quality backs that we can work in there. And then don't forget, we got some wideouts that can stretch the field as well.
You beat Baylor last week at home, but you answered a lot of questions this week on the road against Oklahoma State. What's the mindset now, this Mountaineer team going forward?
Well, our mindset is to enjoy this victory. We're going to get in that locker room and have a good time, celebrate, get home, and then get back to work tomorrow. You know, it doesn't matter if this is win 6. We're just going to, we're going to keep on moving forward. The only thing that matters is winning the next one.
Congratulations, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
Mike.
Once again, our final score, West Virginia 34, Oklahoma State 10. Now let's send you to Reese Davis for the college football scoreboard.